Chapter 586. The remnant soul had a dignified appearance. Even though it was just a remnant soul, it still had an imposing aura. He must have been an extraordinary person when he was alive. However, why would such a great figure be buried in the sinkhole, and even leave his sword soul in the prehistoric heavenly tomb thousands of miles away? There were too many unknown secrets hidden within. Even if Tang Tangjung racked his brains, he would not be able to figure it out. The person who stole my sword soul shall suffer the pain of 10,000 arrows piercing his heart. The remnant soul said sinisterly. Tangjung shivered inwardly. This sword soul was not a joke. The remnant soul's remaining power was not small either. If he were to control the sword soul, then Tangjung would not have a good time. Before he could think of a countermeasure, he heard a loud rumbling sound. The four symbols venerable staggered backwards and kicked his feet into the air. A figure jumped out from under his feet. Ah! Everyone looked at the figure that jumped out, and could not help but cry out in alarm. This was because this person was the sword god who was previously thought to be stomped into meat paste. He actually did not die from the four symbols venerable's kick. He only appeared to be in a sorry state. The nameless sword in his hand stood proudly, as if it was going to pierce through the heavens. The four symbols venerable fell backwards and crashed into the mountain wall, with a loud rumbling sound. Mountain rocks fell with a crash as if it was raining rocks. The members of the National Security Bureau at the edge of the sinkhole could not stand steadily, and almost fell into the sinkhole. The sword god raised his head and looked at the four symbols venerable in an unruly manner. He said coldly, "You have more tricks up your sleeve than your master." "Humph. But since you have a peerless sword art in your hand, instead of focusing on practicing the sword, you are wasting your time on these tricks. Today, I will let you know that small tricks are small tricks in the end. How can they be compared to the brilliant way of the sword?" The sword god held his wooden sword and walked straight towards the four symbols venerable. In this narrow space, the four symbols venerable occupied most of the space. It was a huge monster, and the sword god was an insignificant little dot in front of it. However, as the sword god walked over step by step, his aura underwent a tremendous change. In the end, he was like a giant whose aura did not lose to the four symbols venerable in the slightest. When Tangjung saw this scene, he was shocked. The sword god was indeed worthy of his reputation. He was fine even with this, but he was miserable. In front of him was the remnant soul, and behind him was the sword god. Either one of them was enough to make him suffer. The sword god glanced at Tangjung and the sword spirit and said disdainfully, "With your little ability, you want to meddle with the sword spirit? You are truly delusional. I'm not in a hurry to deal with you. I'll let you try to subdue the sword spirit first. I'll let you understand what an insurmountable gap is. There are many things in this world that can't be done by relying on brute force and self-righteousness." He would have to spend a lot of effort to fuse with the sword spirit, which was why he had the confidence to say such words. He believed that Tangjung simply did not have the strength to fuse with the sword spirit. This was the confidence of a sword Dao grandmaster who had devoted his entire life to sword Dao. He was more concerned about the four symbols venerable one, as this was the greatest threat to him. That was why he drew his sword and attacked, preparing to use the nameless wooden sword in his hand to overturn this big guy. Whoosh! The sword god was like a shooting star as he streaked across the sky and pierced the four symbols venerable one's chest. As expected of the sword god, he truly had sharp eyes. In just one exchange, he had actually seen through the four symbols venerable one's weakest point. The four symbols venerable one's chest was its life gate, so with one strike, a white dot appeared on its chest. That was the mark left behind by the nameless sword. The four symbols venerable one had originally wanted to take a step forward, but was suddenly pushed back by this strike. It was tightly pressed against the mountain wall, unable to move. Tangjung's gaze turned cold. He temporarily gave up on the sword spirit, and focused all his attention on controlling the four symbols venerable one. Seeing the sword god attack again, the four symbols venerable one hurriedly threw out a few punches. Ding Dang did not stop as she blocked the nameless sword. Fortunately, the four symbols venerable one was impregnable. The sword god would not be able to harm its foundation for a while. However, Tang Zheng did not have absolute confidence that the Four Symbols Venerable One could withstand the Sword God's repeated attacks. If something were to happen to the Four Symbols Venerable One, he would really regret it to death. The losses would outweigh the gains. The Sword God curled his lips in disdain. Your skin is thick. Looks like it'll take some effort. Before he had even finished speaking, the Sword God launched another fierce attack. In such a narrow space, the Four Symbols Venerable One's movements were inconvenient. Meanwhile, the Sword God was like a specter, leaping up and down. The Four Symbols Venerable One could only block a portion of the attacks. Most of the time, it was on the receiving end of the attacks. Tang Zheng clenched his teeth. However, he could not help but sigh inwardly as he accepted reality. If they were on flat ground, the Four Symbols Venerable One would not be so passive. However, things did not go as he wished. If he did not hurry up and leave, then he would have to think of a way to fuse with the Sword Spirit. Otherwise, this trip would have been a waste. Even if he could not fuse with the Sword Spirit, he could not let the Sword God benefit so easily. His gaze once again locked onto the Sword Spirit and the Remnant Soul. The Remnant Soul laughed mockingly. I've let you live long enough. Obediently accept your death. As soon as it finished speaking, the radiance of the Sword Spirit pulsed and flickered violently. Every time it flickered, dozens of sword intents would spread out. Before long, this small space was filled with thousands of sword intents. It really felt like thousands of arrows were piercing through one's heart. Tang Zheng's expression changed abruptly. This remnant soul was more powerful than he had expected. He hurriedly used his sword to block. However, the thousands of swords had already arrived before him. With a series of bangs, they broke through his defense and reached his body. Tang Zheng's blood flowed rapidly as if it was about to boil. His heart beat violently as if it was about to burst out of his throat. Suddenly, a stream of blood flowed out from his heart. It rapidly flowed to his brain and filled his eyes. In the next second, his eyes became scarlet red like two scorching suns. Sword Servant, how dare you? Tang Zheng shouted angrily. However, his voice seemed to have changed a lot. It was not Tang Zheng's original voice at all. The thousands of sword intents stopped in front of Tang Zheng. The remnant soul was suddenly startled and revealed a panicked expression. It looked at Tang Zheng in disbelief and asked with trepidation, "You, who are you?" Su Yingtian had been paying attention to Tang Zheng. When he saw this scene, his expression became strange. Qi Sha looked as if he had seen a ghost. He was a swordsman and naturally understood how terrifying the thousands of arrows piercing through one's heart were. He originally thought that Tang Zheng was definitely going to die. Unexpectedly, there was a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. This strange change had occurred and he was overwhelmed. Tang Zheng looked at the remnant soul and said arrogantly, "Who do you think I am?" "Master." The remnant soul hesitated for a moment, and finally cried out as if it had awakened from a dream. It quickly knelt down in front of Tang Zheng and prostrated itself on the ground. "Master, the sword servant finally sees you again." The sword servant thought that he would never see you again. The heavens really have eyes. "Master, you are still alive." The remnant soul was extremely excited and cried bitterly as it spoke. Humph, crying and wailing. "Where is your decency?" Tang Zheng reprimanded without any trace of politeness. "Yes, master's reprimand is very good. The sword servant does not dare to do it again." However, the sword servant's body has long since disappeared, and only this remnant soul is left. "I am unable to serve master," the remnant soul said regretfully. Tang Zheng shook his head and said, "Who says I can't? I want to fuse with your sword spirit. From now on, you and the sword spirit will become one." The remnant soul was startled and immediately became overjoyed. "Thank you, master, for giving the sword servant another chance." Seeing this scene, Qi Sha's courage was already splitting. He realized that something was wrong and impatiently shouted, "Master, this brat is about to fuse with the sword spirit. Hurry up and stop him." When Su Yingtian heard this, he was unable to help at all. His skills were unable to withstand a single blow from the sword god. Moreover, he was heavily injured just now. However, he was also unable to understand the changes in Tang Zheng. However, one thing was certain, this brat was far more mysterious than he had imagined. He would always inadvertently give people a huge surprise. The sword god had already left dozens of white spots on the four symbols' venerable's body, especially on his chest. If this continued, the door on the four symbols' venerable's chest would really be broken. When he heard his disciples' cry of alarm, the sword god hurriedly glanced over, and his expression immediately changed. He realized that something was wrong. He abandoned the four symbols' venerable and dove down, rushing towards Tang Zheng like a cannonball. Tang Zheng did not even look, but extended his war soul sword, and pierced it into the center of the sword soul. Immediately, the sword soul erupted with a brilliant light, and the remnant soul also entered the sword soul. The light wrapped around the war soul sword, and in the end, even Tang Zheng was bathed in it, emitting a mysterious aura. Whiz! The light disappeared, the sword soul and the remnant soul also disappeared, leaving only the war soul sword quietly floating in the air. The war soul sword didn't seem to have changed at all. It was still as black as ink and unremarkable as before. The sword god had already arrived behind Tang Zheng, but Tang Zheng did not turn around at all. He only grabbed the war soul sword and gently slashed backwards. Heaven flying immortal sword technique. However, it was not the first four moves, but the fifth move, return to origin. This move was truly ordinary, like a baby raising a toy sword and waving it weakly. Tang Zheng had already practiced the first four moves for some time, but he never thought that he would be able to master the fifth move today and use it. There was no world-shaking aura, making people wonder if this was really the mystical sword technique of the heaven-flying immortal sword. Even the sword god suspected that the other party's sword was purely teasing him, and could not hurt him at all. Therefore he was not afraid at all. With a mighty aura, he slashed out with the nameless sword. Clang! There were no fancy movements, but time and space seemed to have stopped for a moment. Then the sword god roared, his beard and hair fluttered, like a crazy beast. He took a step forward and stabbed the nameless sword into Tang Zheng's chest. However, a terrifying power came from the tip of the sword, causing him to be unable to move forward at all. Instead, he was like a meteor streaking across the sky, smashing into the mountain wall with a boom. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth curled up into an unfathomable smile. His finger gently stroked the 3-foot-long peak of the war soul sword, and said, "Only with a unique sword soul can it become a divine sword. From now on, the war soul sword has the possibility of becoming a divine sword." There was a look of satisfaction between his brows. When Su Yingtian and Qi Sha saw this, their eyeballs almost popped out, and their mouths could be stuffed with a rock. What the F***ck was going on? Tang Zheng actually defeated the famous and aloof sword god in one move. This was too ridiculous. Chapter 587. Tang Zheng stood proudly, holding his sword with one hand. The scarlet-red color in his eyes gradually disappeared, returning to his normal state. With a sudden quiver, he regained consciousness and looked at the large crater in the mountain wall in shock. The crater created by the sword god. What's going on? Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. He completely did not remember what had happened before. Why did all of this turn out like this? You're too amazing. Su Yingtian gave him a heartfelt thumbs up. Tang Zheng blushed with shame. How am I amazing? This has nothing to do with me, okay? Before his doubts were resolved, his attention was quickly attracted by another matter. His eyes burned as he stared at the war soul sword in his hand. When did the war soul sword become a heaven-level magic treasure? Sword spirit. Suddenly, he discovered that there was one more thing in the war soul sword. It was as if the war soul sword had a soul, and its own consciousness. Master. A voice sounded in his mind. He was shocked and asked, "Who are you? Why are you in my mind?" Back then, Tian Chanzi lived in his mind, once bitten by a snake, 10 years afraid of a well rope, thinking that someone else had lived in his mind. "Master, I am the sword spirit of the war soul sword." Sword spirit, you are the sword spirit from before. Not entirely, I have fused with that sword spirit, the sword attendant, and the original war soul sword. I am a brand new sword spirit, master sword spirit. The other party respectfully explained. Tang Zheng only understood half of it. After thinking for a while, he guessed that the sword attendant was probably the remnant soul. But why did all of this happen? Didn't the remnant soul use the 10,000 arrows piercing heart technique to end his life? Tang Zheng quickly threw this question to the sword spirit, but heard the sword spirit say, "Master, my previous memories have been completely erased. My memories will start from now on." Tang Zheng sighed helplessly. No one could give him an answer. Bang! A loud noise interrupted Tang Zheng's thoughts. The sword god rushed out of the pile of stones in a panic. His body was covered with dust, and there was still blood at the corner of his mouth. He was looking at the nameless wooden sword in his hand in panic. He stroked the sword with resentment and said, "How could this be? How could this be?" A crack appeared on the nameless sword. It was very small, but it was very obvious. Qi looked at the crack in horror. Ever since he could remember, he understood that although the nameless wooden sword was not an invincible peerless divine weapon, in the hands of his master, it was absolutely no less than a peerless divine weapon and would never be damaged. That seemingly simple strike had actually cracked the nameless sword. This was enough to turn his worldview upside down. The sword god's emotions were not much calmer than 7 kills. His accessory had been with him his whole life, but now, a crack had appeared on it. He suddenly raised his head and stared at Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. His eyes kept changing. He said, "How did you do it?" Although Tang Zheng did not remember what had happened with his intelligence, he immediately guessed a thing or two. Of course, he would not be stupid enough to expose himself. Instead, he pretended to smile mysteriously and did not speak. This smile made the sword god's heart uneasy. He had seen Tian Chanzi's power. As the saying goes, the pupil surpasses the master. The disciple might be stronger than the master. As for the issue of age, the sword god had never believed that age could determine the level of cultivation. He would not be surprised at all if a 3-year-old child was stronger than an old man. Therefore, after thinking about it, the sword god did not suspect anything else. He thought that Tang Zheng had deliberately concealed his strength and had no choice but to explode in the end. However, the strength revealed by this explosion moved him, and he did not dare to underestimate it. Although the sword god was unwilling, the sword spirit had already merged into the war soul sword. Even if he coveted it, there was nothing he could do. Facing the sword god who was eyeing him covetously, Tang Zheng's mood did not fluctuate at all, nor was he afraid. At most, he would continue to fight. He had experienced too many dangerous situations, and had long been trained to remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. This kind of reaction made the sword god hesitate. The sword god weighed the pros and cons and finally gritted his teeth. "I will remember your face. Next time, I will ask for your advice." After that, he grabbed 7 Kill's collar and jumped to the edge of the crater. The members of the National Security Bureau wanted to surround him to keep him, but he did not even look at them and walked forward. Seeing this, Su Yingtian quickly ordered his subordinates to retreat. After all, the other party was the sword god. Although he was inexplicably scared away by Tang Zheng, if others wanted to stop him, they would be courting death. The figures of the sword god and his disciple had disappeared, but the crater was still terrifyingly quiet. Su Yingtian looked at Tang Zheng, and did not know how to organize his words for a long time. Tang Zheng was the first to break the silence. "Director Su, why are you looking at me like that? There are no flowers growing on my face." Su Yingtian smacked his lips and said with lingering fear, "All of this is more unbelievable than flowers growing on your face." After a slight hesitation, he asked, "How did you do all of this?" "I still don't know." Tang Zheng spread out his hands and said helplessly, "Don't play dumb. Everyone isn't blind, and they saw it clearly. You forced the sword god to retreat with a single strike, and you even put him in an extremely sorry state. There are very few people in this world who can do this." Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. "You have known me for a long time. If I were really so powerful, would I let you mediate the matter of the dragon group? I would have killed Xingfeng in the dragon group long ago." Su Yingtian looked at Tang Zheng doubtfully and admitted that what he said was true. Moreover, according to his investigation of Tang Zheng, although his overall strength was very strong, and even the Chu clan master fell in his hands, that was with the help of the 4 symbols venerables. But just now, Tang Zheng only relied on the sword in his hand to force the sword god to retreat. Moreover, the sword god's strength was far above the Chu clan master's. If he did not see it with his own eyes, he would definitely think that it was a fantasy. But how do you explain what happened just now? Su Yingtian broke the clay pot and asked. You ask me, who should I ask? Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. Just now, you seem to have changed into a different person. Even your eyes became scarlet red like the scorching sun. Did this happen to you before? Su Yingtian asked with a frown. No. However, you also said that I seem to have changed into a different person. Maybe it was the effect of the sword spirit and that wisp of remnant soul. What if it was him possessing my body? Tang Zheng made up a story. That's not right. That remnant soul clearly called you master, and even said that he was some sword attendant. Don't try to fool me. Su Yingtian was very smart. How could he be so easily fooled? Tang Zheng spread out his hands and said, in any case, I don't know. I don't have the answer you want. Su Yingtian looked at him without blinking. He wanted to distinguish the truth of his words, but in the end, based on his experience, Tang Zheng was not lying. He really did not know what had happened just now. Tang Zheng did not know, but he had already guessed a thing or two. Since that remnant soul called him master, and he lost consciousness, there was only one explanation. That was, in that instant, he was controlled by a mysterious force. Moreover, this mysterious force was activated in his body. After thinking about it carefully, it was not difficult to think of the mysterious Qi Yu's heart in his chest. Not only did it recognize the sword spirit at a glance, it also had many mysterious performances in the past. It was simply full of misdeeds. Could it be that the master of the sword attendant is Qi Yu, and Qi Yu's heart controlled my consciousness at the critical moment, causing me to transform into Qi Yu, which is why the sword spirit and war soul sword fused together. Looking at the dark war soul sword and feeling the surging sword intent contained within, Tang Zheng could not hide his excitement. Heaven-level magic treasure. He finally had a heaven-level magic treasure, and it was an offensive magic treasure. In the future, his fighting strength would greatly increase. Qi Yu's heart saved my life and even gave me such a big gift, but why do I still feel nervous? If Qi Yu's heart were to control me again, wouldn't I become a puppet? Tang Zheng's head tightened. Although Qi Yu's heart had many benefits, this disadvantage caused his heart to turn cold. Qi Yu's heart, what exactly do you want? Tang Zheng asked. There was no answer, leaving him helpless. Seeing that he was worried, Su Yingtian asked curiously, what are you thinking about? Tang Zheng came back to his senses, and was not prepared to tell the other party about this matter. Qi Yu's heart was his secret, and even if there was danger, he would not easily tell others. Nothing. Tang Zheng pretended to be calm as he replied, and changed the topic without leaving a trace. Why did your National Security Bureau come here? We received information. Before Su Yingtian could finish rushing, two people rushed into the sky cavern from the cave and shouted, Tang Zheng, what happened to you? Wu and Sinosaurus were extremely anxious. When they saw Tang Zheng, the two of them rushed in at the same time. Sinosaurus hugged Tang Zheng and fiercely patted his back, saying, OL3, you really scared me to death. Just now, we heard such a big commotion here. We were all worried to death about you. Wu, on the other hand, instantly regained his calm. He was calm and collected, as if nothing had happened. It was completely different from his anxious appearance just now. Didn't I tell you to wait? Why did you come here? We're worried about you, especially this great beauty. She's even more worried, and she heard such a big commotion. If we only hide in the distance, what kind of brothers are we? Brothers have to share hardships. Sinosaurus said straightforwardly. Tang Zheng glanced at Wu. Under his calm appearance, there was an anxious and urgent thought, which was seen through by Tang Zheng. He couldn't help but feel a warmth in his heart. This woman had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. She usually liked to sing against him, and because of many complicated reasons, she didn't even have a good expression towards Tang Zheng. He didn't expect her to be so worried about him. This worry came from the bottom of his heart, and Tang Zheng could see it with a single glance. If you don't die, then consider yourself lucky. You escaped from the hands of the sword god, Wu said snappily. Chapter 588. Su Yingtian recognized Marshall, but Sinosaurus was an unfamiliar face, causing him to be unable to figure out the other party's background. Why did you suddenly come to Changbai Mountain? Su Yingtian asked suspiciously. My classmate is sick, so I came to take a look. I also came to enjoy the scenery of Changbai Mountain. Tang Zheng answered first. He did not wish for the matter of the mountain-shattering meteor hammer to be made public. Su Yingtian glanced at Sinosaurus and said, I remember that you have already started school, yet you still have the mood to travel. You are truly in a good mood. After experiencing so many things, shouldn't you let yourself relax? On the other hand, didn't you just say that you came here because of the information? What exactly is the information? Island Nation has people coming to the northeast and seems to be on the move. I came to investigate their purpose, but I didn't expect to find traces of Sword Pavilion. Could it be that Island Nation and Sword Pavilion are both here for the Sword Spirit? Su Yingtian explained. Island Nation? Tang Zheng's eyelids twitched. He had already clashed with Island Nation several times. This country was not easy to deal with. They had always been scheming and would definitely not shoot without aim. Since the other party had come to the northeast, then they must have some sort of plan. As for whether or not they came for the Sword Spirit, he was not sure. Have you found the Island Nation? Tang Zheng asked. Su Yingtian shook his head regretfully. During the invasion war a few decades ago, Island Nation occupied the northeast region and conducted a detailed exploration of this region. They are extremely familiar with the terrain, so it is extremely difficult to find them hiding in this region. Tang Zheng's heart darkened. The war that year was the shame of Huaxia. Every Huaxia person would never forget it. Since you haven't found it, what are you going to do next? Tang Zheng asked. If he could help, then he would naturally spare no effort. I've already sent people to investigate. Where's the Sword God? Marshall did not care about the schemes of the Island Nation. He looked around at the tragic scene and asked curiously. He was scared away by Tang Zheng, Su Yingtian said. Marshall's eyes widened in disbelief. Scared away by him? How is that possible? You don't even have a draft if you want to lie. Su Yingtian shrugged and didn't continue to explain. Tang Zheng naturally wouldn't do anything unnecessary. He cupped his hands towards Su Yingtian and said, Then we'll go first. We'll contact you when we return to Beijing. You have offended Sword Pavilion this time. You have to be more careful in the future, said Su Yingtian. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly and said, I'm not afraid of the itch anymore, and I don't care about the Sword Pavilion. You sure are magnanimous. Su Yingtian shook his head. If it was anyone else, they would have been scared out of their wits. Only Tang Zheng was so magnanimous. Tang Zheng put the 4 symbols venerables into his sumaru pouch, and the 3 of them left the sky cavern together. When they couldn't see the people from the National Security Bureau, Sinosaurus poked Tang Zheng's waist and asked curiously, Who are they? The National Security Bureau. Wow! Sinosaurus cried out in surprise, his mouth wide open. The legendary National Security Bureau. They're in charge of national security. They're not ordinary people. You actually have connections with them. Too awesome. Tang Zheng smiled faintly and said, They're also ordinary people. They're not that extraordinary. Do Long clicked his tongue in admiration. OL3, your realm is not ordinary. If others knew, they would be scared to death. Don't tell anyone about what happened today. Tang Zheng warned. Sinosaurus patted his chest and promised. Don't worry, I won't say it even if you beat me to death. What happened in the sky cavern earlier? Marshall asked. Didn't Su Yingtian tell you? If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Why are you lying to me? Marshall said snappily. Tang Zheng felt wronged and rolled his eyes, not knowing what to say. Where is the Sword Pavilion? Tang Zheng changed the topic and asked. Marshall shook his head. Although the martial sect's strength is extraordinary, we still don't know where the Sword Pavilion is. The Sword Pavilion is no less mysterious than the martial sect. Do you understand? Suddenly, she rolled her eyes and asked, Are you asking this question because you want to kill your way to the Sword Pavilion? Tang Zheng rubbed his nose and said with a mysterious smile, I really do have such a plan. Boasting shamelessly, you're simply courting death. Marshall rolled his eyes and impolitely evaluated. Tang Zheng did not explain further. He was not lying, but he was not stupid enough to kill his way to the sword pavilion. Instead, he was prepared to call Tian Chanzi to meet the sword god. In the sword pavilion, the sword god was the most respected. He had 3 direct disciples under him, which was the most terrifying power. As for the sword slaves, although their swordsmanship was not bad, they were not a threat to Tang Zheng. But since he had already formed an enmity with the other party, then Tang Zheng would naturally consider completely eliminating this hidden danger. As night fell, the 3 of them walked out of the vast mountains and saw the village from afar. Smoke curled up from the chimneys, and the families were already preparing dinner. And my house hasn't started yet? There's no smoke coming out of the chimney. Sinosaurus raised his head and muttered in bewilderment. Maybe they've already prepared dinner and are waiting for us. Tang Zheng laughed. When he stepped through the courtyard door, the smile on his face suddenly froze and he stopped in his tracks. What's wrong? Marshall asked with a frown. Tang Zheng's face became extremely serious and said in a deep voice, "Something's wrong." OL3, don't be so suspicious. We're already home. What could be wrong? Sinosaurus disagreed and walked into the courtyard with large strides. Second brother, be careful. Tang Zheng wanted to pull him back, but it was already too late. So. Out of nowhere, enemies dressed in black appeared. They were tightly wrapped, leaving only a pair of eyes exposed. Not only did these black-clothed men block their path, they also blocked their path of retreat outside the courtyard. They attacked from the front and back, eyeing them covetously. Who are you? Why are you in my house? Sinosaurus asked in anger. Tang Zheng and Marshall quickly joined up with Sinosaurus. The 3 of them faced the black-clothed men and did not back down. However, Tang Zheng also muttered in his heart, how could there be such ruthless people in this unknown village? Without a doubt, these black-clothed men were not good people. Every one of them had a faint smell of blood on them. It was obvious that they had seen blood before. Just now, Tang Zheng had sensed the faintly discernible smell of blood, which was why he was alert. When the black-clothed man heard Sinosaurus's question, he did not answer and instead asked, "Which one of you is Sinosaurus?" They were actually here for Sinosaurus, which was truly unexpected. "I am Sinosaurus. Who are you people?" Sinosaurus took a step forward and asked. "It's good that it's you. Obediently hand over the thing you obtained. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your little life," the black-clothed man said with a murderous aura. "What thing?" Sinosaurus was confused. "The thing you obtained in the Changbai mountain," the black-clothed man said with certainty. When the 3 of them heard this, their hearts were greatly shaken. How did these black-clothed men know that Sinosaurus obtained something in the Changbai mountain? Even the National Security Bureau and Sword Pavilion did not know about this. Just what kind of background did the other party have? Tang Zheng took a step forward and calmly said, "We do not know what you are talking about." "If you don't know, then let's see if he can remind you." The black-clothed man waved his hand, and another black-clothed man walked out with an old woman. Shaman. The 3 of them were shocked. The other party had actually captured the shaman. Previously, the shaman had suffered a great loss at the hands of Tang Zheng and had become a fool. They did not expect that she would fall into the hands of these people. The shaman's eyes had already regained consciousness. It was clear that the black-clothed man had used some unknown method to heal her. Her eyes were spitting fire as she looked at Tang Zheng and the other 2. Her voice was hoarse as she shouted, "It's them. The thing you want is in their hands." The 3 people's expressions suddenly changed. Sinosaurus angrily said, "Shaman, not only did you want to harm my family, but now you instigated these criminals to come to my house. What do you mean by this? You broke my shaman's technique. I will make you beg for death," the shaman viciously said. Tang Zheng frowned. He had let her live, but she did not repent. She had even caused trouble for them. She really deserved to die. "Now you have nothing to say. Hand over the thing, and I'll let you live," the black-clothed man aggressively said. "I don't have what you want. Even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you." Sinosaurus raised his neck and said without backing down. "Stubborn. It seems like you don't even care about your family," The black-clothed man waved his hand, and several people escorted out 3 people who were tied up like rice dumplings. Their bodies were clearly injured. The 3 people's mouths were stuffed with strips of cloth so they could not speak. But when they looked at Sinosaurus and the other 2 people, their eyes were filled with anxiety. Grandfather, father, mother. Sinosaurus turned pale with fright. His eyes looked like they were about to spit fire. What are you doing? Hurry up and let my family go. Hand over the thing. Otherwise, each one of them will die in front of you. That feeling will be unforgettable for the rest of your life. The black-clothed man cruelly said. I don't even know what you're talking about. What can I give you? You remind him. The black-clothed man pointed at the shaman and said. The shaman arrogantly took a few steps forward. She fearfully glanced at Tang Zheng and arrogantly said, Sinosaurus, you have a magic weapon in your body. Hurry up and hand it over. Magic weapon. The 3 people were shocked. This shaman had actually discovered this before. It was really unexpected. Originally, when the shaman treated Sinosaurus, she had already discovered this. But with her cultivation, she was unable to summon that magic weapon. That magic weapon had already merged with Sinosaurus flesh and blood. If she wanted to obtain the magic weapon, she had to wait for Sinosaurus to die. She had always been looking forward to Do Long's death. And in the end, she even instigated the villagers to kill them all, so that they could completely cut off all hope and let Do Long die a little faster, so that she could take the magic treasure for herself. Or she could wait for the family to leave and get rid of them in an unknown place. Then she could kill them and take the magic weapon. In short, she had a lot of plans. But she did not expect Tang Zheng to appear halfway and ruin her plans. She almost died in Tang Zheng's hands. Although she knew that by helping the black-clothed man, she would not have the chance to obtain the magic weapon. But she still helped the black-clothed man. Because as long as she could strike Sinosaurus and the others, she would be very happy. Chapter 589. Seeing that the shaman had seen through the mystery, the 3 people's expressions changed slightly. These people really came for the mountain-shattering meteor hammer, but judging from their attire, they were not from the Sword Pavilion or the National Security Bureau. Tang Zheng suddenly had an idea and asked, Are you from the island nation? The black-clothed men were slightly startled. They could already hide their identities, but they were still seen through by the other party. This was unexpected. You are not ordinary villagers? The black-clothed man asked with a murderous look. Humph, the people of the island nation dare to come to Huaxia and behave atrociously. If you don't change your character, then today you will not be able to return. Tang Zheng said resolutely. Since you don't know life from death, then there is no need to talk nonsense with you. Do it. Kill their families first. The black-clothed man ordered, and 3 katanas quietly lit up in the night, stabbing towards Sinosaurus's family. The 3 people's mouths were stuffed with cloth, and their eyes were wide open in fear. They kept struggling, but they were powerless. How dare you, I will kill you. Sinosaurus roared furiously. With a flash of light in his hand, the mountain-shattering meteor hammer flew out of his hand and flew towards the black-clothed man who intended to commit murder. At the same time, the other black-clothed men swung their katanas and rushed towards Tang Zheng and the other 2. Kacha. With a crisp sound, the katana was smashed into pieces by the mountain-shattering meteor hammer. The attack of the mountain-shattering meteor hammer did not decrease and smashed into the black-clothed man's head. Like a watermelon falling from a high altitude, brain matter flew everywhere, blood spurted out, and the headless corpse fell to the ground with a thud. Sinosaurus rushed towards the black-clothed man like a tiger coming down the mountain. Tang Zheng and Marshall were even faster. Like 2 ghosts, they quietly rushed to the front of the black-clothed man and attacked like lightning. 2 black-clothed men flew out and crashed into the wall. They immediately died, and blood spilled all over the ground. In one exchange, the black-clothed men lost 3 of their men. Immediately, cries of alarm sounded from all directions. Baka, cut them all into pieces. The remaining 10 or so black-clothed men rushed towards Tang Zheng, and the other 2 like hungry wolves hunting for food. The 3 of them were obviously not afraid. Other than Sinosaurus, who was a little unfamiliar with his movements, Tang Zheng and Marshall were completely at ease. Most of these black-clothed men were Xiantian martial artists, but the highest was only a 5th-grade Xiantian martial artist. They were far from being a match for Tang Zheng. Since the other party was from an island nation, Tang Zheng did not show any mercy. He unleashed killing moves one after another, causing the black-clothed men to fall to the ground and die miserably. The courtyard was filled with the smell of blood, and the aura of death shrouded the courtyard, causing people to be terrified. The 3 people from the Dou clan were already stunned and unable to move. Even the shaman was scared silly. She originally thought that the black-clothed man was already a ruthless character, but now she understood that these 3 youngsters were even more ruthless. They showed a maturity and ruthlessness that did not match their age. The men in black were finally afraid. These people were not the small fries they had imagined. This time they had kicked a steel plate. Quickly retreat. The leader screamed and retreated in panic, trying to escape, but how could Tang Zheng let him do as he wished? Like a shadow, he followed closely behind. The battle soul sword pierced out, aiming for the opponent's back. The opponent was a 5th-grade Xiantian martial artist. His strength was not weak. Feeling the biting cold killing intent behind him, he casually grabbed the stunned shaman and pushed her back. Pooh! The shaman crashed into Battle Soul, and the sword tip pierced through her body. The shaman looked at the bleeding sword tip on her chest. Her eyes were about to explode. Her head tilted and her life was cut off. Tang Zheng did not have the slightest bit of mercy. Last time he had let her go. But who would have thought that she would not change? She deserved to die. After the battle soul pierced through the shaman's body, it did not slow down and caught up with the leader. The 2 of them were like candied haws, being strung together. The black-clothed man's eyes widened in despair as he let out an unwilling roar. He took out something from his bosom and threw it towards the sky. Bang! With an explosion, a strangely shaped firework bloomed in the sky. Damn it, this is a signal. Damn it, even when you are about to die, you still don't stop. Tang Zheng pulled out Battle Soul, and the 2 corpses fell to the ground. The other black-clothed men were also wiped out by Marshall and Sinosaurus. Especially Sinosaurus, who was still a little unfamiliar with it at first, but later on he gradually became proficient and crazily waved the mountain-shattering meteor hammer. Although his cultivation was not as good as the black-clothed men, he had the support of the mountain-shattering meteor hammer. In addition, because he hated the other party for threatening him with his family, his fighting strength was pushed to the peak. Many black-clothed men died under his mountain-shattering meteor hammer. The black-clothed men had been completely wiped out, but Sinosaurus still did not stop. He crazily waved the mountain-shattering meteor hammer, and in the end, he loudly shouted, "Kill, kill, kill, kill." His body was also dyed with the blood of his enemies, which was extremely terrifying. The Dou family finally woke up from their dream. Looking at the crazy Sinosaurus, Mother Dou was the first to uncontrollably cry. She threw herself at Sinosaurus and screamed, "Son, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me, woo. Be careful." Seeing that, Tang Zheng immediately grabbed Sinosaurus's arm. Otherwise, in the next second, Sinosaurus would accidentally hurt his mother. "Lao Air, wake up!" Tang Zheng roared loudly. It was like a huge bell, shaking people's eardrums to the point of pain. Sinosaurus was startled and stopped. The madness in his eyes decreased sharply, and he gradually regained his clarity. When he saw his anxious and frightened family, he was overjoyed. He hugged them and cheered. "You guys are fine, that's great, that's great." 2 streams of hot tears flowed from his eyes. Who says men don't cry? That's because they haven't been hurt. Just now he was really frightened and angry. Don't look at how Sinosaurus was usually rough and careless. His family was his lifeblood. If anyone dared to harm his family, he would fight them to the death. The family hugged each other and cried. They had never experienced such a terrifying thing. After surviving a disaster, they had mixed feelings. "Son, you guys killed someone. What should we do?" Mother Dou was at a loss. She suddenly said with a resolute expression, "You guys hurry up and run. When the police come, I'll take responsibility. Just say that I killed them." Old Man Dou and Dou Jiang nodded at the same time and said, "Yes, listen to your mother. You guys hurry up and leave. We'll take care of this matter." Sinosaurus resolutely said. I dare to take responsibility for my actions. How can I, Sinosaurus, be a coward? You guys are still young. You still have a long life ahead of you. How can you be ruined like this? The Doe family said with unquestionable hearts. Don't worry. I'll take care of this matter. No one will be arrested. Tang Zheng interrupted their worries and said. You. Old Man Doe and the others clearly didn't believe him. But someone died and it's not just one. You guys can relax. These are all people from an island nation. Back then, they invaded our country, and now they're here to cause trouble. They deserve to die. Tang Zheng comforted. Second brother, send them back to their homes in the city. Don't come back here. I'll stay here to take care of this matter. Can I really? Sinosaurus's heart was apprehensive. Tang Zheng patted his shoulder and said, Don't worry. I'll take care of everything. Sinosaurus thought about how Tang Zheng knew the National Security Bureau and couldn't help but believe him. Moreover, after experiencing such a battle, if the Doe family continued to stay, it would definitely leave a psychological shadow. The Doe family simply packed up and left the village in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, Tang Zheng and Marshall sat at the entrance of the courtyard. Behind them was a messy battlefield with many corpses lying everywhere. Dong dong dong. Hurried footsteps sounded out. A group of black-clothed men completely blended into the night as they quickly approached the quiet courtyard. A murderous aura assaulted their faces. Tang Zheng and Marshall were calm and collected. They squinted their eyes and closed their eyes to rest. This time the other party's background is not small. Marshall calmly said. Scared. I still don't know the word scared. Marshall coldly said. Then let's start a massacre. The people of the island nation have never given up and have always coveted our treasures. This time, they must have come for the treasures. A small country actually dares to covet our treasures. They deserve to die. Tang Zheng said with a murderous look. Although the treasure has nothing to do with me, I am still a little interested in killing the devil. Marshall said. I didn't expect you to be so warm-hearted. You have a good view of the overall situation. Tang Zheng joked. Marshall coldly snorted, declining to comment. The sound of footsteps arrived in the blink of an eye. Not long later, the black-clothed men surrounded the courtyard, smelling the faint smell of blood in the air, and then looking at the two people sitting at the entrance. The black-clothed men all stopped in their tracks. An old man with a white beard walked out. He was not wearing a mask, and between his brows was a cold killing intent. He was short, but his aura was extremely strong. The other tall black-clothed men were like 3-year-old children in front of him. Tang Zheng's pupils suddenly constricted. He stared at the old man and softly spat out 2 words. Grand Master. This old man was actually a Grand Master martial artist. Although Tang Zheng could not see his exact cultivation level, but judging from the other party's aura, he definitely would not be wrong. More than one Grand Master had lost to Tang Zheng, so he was not afraid of the Grand Master. He casually glanced at the other party and said, Is everyone here? Who are you? Where are my people? The old man also knew Huaxia, so he asked without any trace of politeness. I am from Huaxia. As for your people, yes, they are lying in the courtyard. They are lonely on the road to the Yellow Springs, waiting for you to accompany them. Tang Zheng said. Baka, you dare to go against us. Hehe, I've already killed them. Do you think I wouldn't dare? Tang Zheng asked in ridicule. It seems that you have obtained the magic treasure. That's why you are so unbridled. This time, not only do I want your lives, I also want the magic treasure. The old man said. Then come and get it. Tang Zheng raised the War Soul sword that had been defeated on his leg. Let's see if you have the ability. Kill. The old man roared and took the lead to rush out. However, just as he took a step forward, his figure disappeared. Interesting. Tang Zheng narrowed his eyes and stared at the vast night sky. He could not find any trace of the old man. Suddenly, a katana appeared behind Tang Zheng without any warning and pierced towards his back. Clang. Tang Zheng did not move. Behind him, intense sparks lit up. The other party's sneak attack had failed. Chapter 590. What kind of kung fu is this? Tangjung asked curiously. Ninjutsu. An old voice sounded. The voice was erratic, making people unable to determine where it came from. Ninjutsu? Tangjung muttered in his heart. What was the difference between this and illusion? In fact, ninjutsu and illusion were really inextricably linked. In ancient times, the island nation was just a vassal state of Huaxia, a small place, and the whole country worshipped Huaxia. And they even sent people across the ocean to Huaxia to learn. At that time, the cultivators of Huaxia were popular, and the island nation, as a barbarian land, was shocked by the cultivation technique, so they wanted to learn this immortal technique. However, most of the people of the island nation were uncivilized, slow in thinking, and unable to understand the profound meaning of cultivation. Many people's wisdom was exhausted, and they only learned a little. Later, the cultivators of Huaxia were expelled to Tianweishan, and the island nation couldn't learn even if they wanted to. Later, Kung Fu was carried forward, so the island nation also focused on learning Kung Fu, forming the popular and everlasting Bushido in the island nation today. As for some of the techniques learned in the past, they were also integrated into Bushido, forming a new sect called ninjutsu, and the people who practiced ninjutsu were called ninjas. Ninjutsu was more mysterious than ordinary Bushido. Not everyone could learn it, but it was secretly passed down from generation to generation. After hundreds of years of inheritance, ninjutsu was much more advanced than before, and some of them were already considered kung fu. Therefore, the old man opposite him was half a step into the threshold of a cultivator, but his strength couldn't only be judged by the level of a cultivator. In short, this person was definitely the most troublesome person from the island nation that Tangjung had ever encountered. These ninjas got the information that there was a magic weapon in the northeast of Huaxia, so they disguised themselves and sneaked into Huaxia, just to take the magic weapon for themselves. Although their ninjutsu could be considered as spells, they didn't have any magical weapons after all. Their power was greatly reduced, and it was difficult for them to be elegant. If he had a treasure that complemented his ninjutsu would definitely reach a higher level. However, the magical equipment had already been taken by Tangjung and Sinosaurus, and they were one step too late. You're lucky to be able to die under ninjutsu. Give me your life. The old man roared, and the katana silently appeared in front of Tangjung's chest. Moreover, he chopped down 3 times in a row, continuously, and could not be underestimated. Tangjung frowned and said, "Since you like to play hide and seek, I'll play with you." As soon as he finished speaking, the katana struck empty air. Tangjung's figure was nowhere to be seen. He and the old man had disappeared without a trace. Ha! The other black-clothed men couldn't help but exclaim as they shook their heads in disbelief. Impossible, this is a high-level ninjutsu. How can he know it? Is this a high-level ninjutsu? Then it seems that your ninjutsu is only SOSO. Tangjung's disdainful voice rang out. Audacious, you dare to insult ninjutsu. The black-clothed men angrily shouted, wishing that they could immediately pull out their swords and cut Tangjung into 1,000 pieces. However, they couldn't find any trace of Tangjung. It's just an insignificant skill, Tangjung coldly said. Illusions were not very profound techniques for cultivators, but the opponent's ninjutsu was clearly born out of illusions. It only had the appearance, but it didn't have the essence. Although ordinary people couldn't see the two of them, when Tangjung revolved his chi, his perception greatly increased, and he finally found a clue. This ninjutsu had obvious mana fluctuations. Ordinary people and martial artists couldn't sense it, but Tangjung could clearly feel it. With a thought, he determined the old man's position. With a wave of his hand, the War Soul sword pierced out. Voila! The air spread out in all directions, leaving behind only the power of the sword. When the old man saw that Tangjung had also become invisible, he didn't panic. Instead, he was wild with joy. He subconsciously thought that this was the effect of the mysterious treasure, so he couldn't wait to take the treasure for himself. At that time, his ninjutsu would definitely reach a higher level, and he might even be promoted to the top of the island nation's ninja master. As the sword and blade clashed, the air exploded with bright sparks, but the others still couldn't see the two figures. They could only hear the sound of fighting rising and falling. In the blink of an eye, The two had already exchanged more than 10 moves. Although Tang Zheng's cultivation was only at the 7th level of Anidia, with the support of the War Soul Sword, his fighting strength soared. He didn't even need the 4 symbols venerables to contend against a master. In fact, when fighting with this old man, Tang Zheng had taken advantage of him. This was because the other party had deliberately used ninjutsu and not martial arts, giving Tang Zheng an opportunity to take advantage of. Tang Zheng's comprehension and understanding of magic far surpassed his opponents, so wanting to use ninjutsu to defeat Tang Zheng was purely a fantasy. The battle between the two sides became more and more intense. Occasionally, there would be sounds of collisions in the air, and occasionally, blood would spurt out. Everyone held their breaths with rapt attention as they stared fixedly at the blood, and all of them guessed exactly who was injured. The atmosphere of the battlefield became more and more intense. It was so oppressive that it made it hard for people to breathe. Many people's hearts were in their throats. She knew how powerful Tang Zheng was, but this opponent was not someone who was easy to deal with. Wu knew that she was not a match for the old man, so who would be the victor? The old man's aura gradually became chaotic. He gradually discovered some clues. Every time he thought that his attacks were flawless, they would be seen through by Tang Zheng. It was as if Tang Zheng could see through his whereabouts. Tang Zheng's attacks also became sharper and sharper, causing him to be unable to defend against them. He was surrounded by danger, and a few wounds had already appeared on his body, causing blood to flow out. However, he was unable to harm Tang Zheng in the slightest. This kind of situation was unprecedented, causing him to feel incomparably depressed and terrified. Your ninjutsu has already lost its effect. Hurry up and show yourself. Tang Zheng did not play hide and seek with the other party anymore. With a loud shout, he thrusted out his sword, his aura firmly locking onto the old man. Yes, even though the old man had concealed his figure, he was still firmly locked onto by Tang Zheng's aura. No matter how he moved, that trace of aura never left his body. This feeling was extremely mysterious, causing the old man's expression to change greatly. Suddenly, pa pa pa. The air around the old man exploded violently like firecrackers. The old man's figure suddenly stopped and gradually revealed itself. The old man was shocked. He looked around and screamed, "What's going on? How could this be?" The other black-clothed men also looked as if they had seen a ghost. Ninjutsu was a high-level secret technique in their eyes. How could it fail? The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth raised, and he laughed proudly. I already told you, ninjutsu is just an insignificant skill. Although Tang Zheng did not know the origin of ninjutsu, he could tell that there were many flaws in ninjutsu. The mana fluctuations were too obvious, and it was easy for an expert like Tang Zheng to find clues. Therefore, the old man tried his best to use ninjutsu, but in Tang Zheng's eyes he was like a transparent person, with nowhere to hide. With the ninjutsu failing, the old man panicked and exclaimed, "You are definitely not a cultivator who has just become a cultivator, but a cultivator who has been cultivating for a long time. Who exactly are you?" If it was in the past, if the old man met a real cultivator, he would be happy, because in his whole life he hoped to improve his ninjutsu to the next level, but he knew that ninjutsu had reached the end, unless there was a new opportunity, such as becoming a cultivator. The old man was very clear about the origin of ninjutsu. Although he did not admit it verbally, he knew that ninjutsu had a lot of room for improvement after incorporating the essence of magic. But the key point was that Tang Zheng's strength was too strong, and he had no way to defeat him. Instead, his opponent took advantage of every opportunity, making his hope like flowers in a mirror and the moon in the water. Hearing the other party's question, Tang Zheng smiled and did not say a word. War Spirit slashed out, and the old man hurriedly responded. Suddenly, War Spirit flashed, and a dark sword light wrapped around the katana. With a kacha sound, the katana broke into two, and War Spirit slashed at the old man's neck. The old man's neck was cold, and he staggered back. Finally, he fell to the ground and luckily escaped the danger of being beheaded. War Spirit flew past his scalp, cutting off a few strands of hair and quietly falling down, causing the old man's back to break out in cold sweat. Consider yourself lucky, but this time you may not be able to escape," Tang Zheng said coldly, and was about to attack again, but heard heavy footsteps approaching from afar, and shouted, "Tang Zheng, stay your sword." Tang Zheng's movements came to an abrupt stop, and he turned his head to look in the direction of the person. "Director Su, you want to save him?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. He was not surprised by Su Yingtian's arrival, as he had expected. Of course, the case he did this time must be dealt with by the National Security Bureau, so that he would not get into trouble. Moreover, he believed that the fireworks signal from the island nation people must have alarmed the nearby National Security Bureau. Su Yingtian had been painstakingly searching for the island nation people, so how could he let go of this great opportunity? Tang Zheng had calculated all of this, but he did not calculate Su Yingtian's attitude and reaction. "Don't misunderstand, I'm not saving him. Do you know who this person is?" Su Yingtian asked. "I don't care who he is. If he dares to come to Huaxia and show off his strength, then he deserves to die," Tang Zheng said without any trace of politeness. You have this kind of awareness which is worthy of praise, but there are some things that we can pursue for greater benefits. Wouldn't it be too easy for him to just kill him?" Su Yingtian said with a smile, like an old fox. Tang Zheng seemed to be deep in thought and said, "Oh, then tell me who he is first." "This person is the island nation's Bushido, but this is not the most exciting part. He has another identity. He is the island nation's emperor's younger brother. The emperor's younger brother, which is also the royal family." Tang Zheng's eyes widened. Nowadays, pictures of the island nation's royal princesses are often circulated on the internet. As for the other members of the royal family, they are quite mysterious, and ordinary people do not know. This person is actually the emperor's younger brother, then his identity is really not ordinary. You killed the emperor's younger brother. In less than 3 days, then you will really be famous, Su Yingtian joked. "It's just a small country, what's so great about the royal family?" Tang Zheng curled his lips. Obviously he did not like these nobles, and did not have any respect for them. Moreover, didn't he save a Swedish princess from Europe? Chapter 591. Su Yingtian rolled his eyes. Ordinary people were in awe of nobles, but a freak like Tang Zheng didn't even put the royal family in his eyes. Su Yingtian couldn't help feeling fortunate that his strategy back then was wise. He did not use his authority to suppress the other party, but chose to cooperate instead. Xing Feng was too self-righteous, which was why he and Tang Zheng were like fire and water. When the other people from the island nation heard Tang Zheng's words, they all shouted, "Baka!" The old man's face turned ashen as he roared, "Audacious! How dare you be rude to the royal family?" Tang Zheng raised his sword and pierced it towards the old man, causing the latter to retreat in a panic. But with a turn of the sword he stopped his attack. Tang Zheng smiled with his eyes narrowed as he looked at the old man and asked, "Do you still think that I don't dare to kill you?" "You." The old man's face turned red as he was left speechless. Tang Zheng ignored the old man, and turned to Su Yingtian. "If you don't kill him, how are you going to deal with him?" Haha, as a member of the royal family of an island nation, he must know a lot of information. This is a big fish, and it's not easy to catch such a big fish. You've just joined the National Security Bureau, and you've already made such a great contribution. Congratulations. Su Yingtian chuckled. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and saw through the old man's thoughts. Su Yingtian took the initiative to give the credit to Tang Zheng, which meant that he wanted to add 10 points to the relationship between Tang Zheng and the National Security Bureau. Regarding this, Tang Zheng did not have any objections. "This old man is stubborn. Are you sure you can pry open his mouth?" Tang Zheng asked in a solemn voice. Su Yingtian confidently smiled. "You have to believe that the National Security Bureau has been established for so many years. It's not for nothing." Tang Zheng thought for a long time and said, "Since you've come forward, I'll give you face. However, it's too annoying to see so many people strutting around Huaxia." Before he finished speaking, Tang Zheng attacked. Like a bolt of lightning, he shuttled through the island nation people. Poof! Poof! Conferring a marquee at the sight of blood. Blood spurted out from their necks like small fountains. Island nation people covered their necks and looked at each other in disbelief. Their eyes were filled with deep despair. Bang bang bang. Except for the old man, all the people from the island nation fell to the ground and stopped breathing. It was as if Tang Zheng had never left his original position. Even the blade of the War Soul sword did not have the slightest trace of blood. This series of attacks was too incisive, dazzling and overwhelming. When the old man wanted to save him, he found that it was already too late. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared, "I will kill you." Tang Zheng hooked his finger at the old man and said, "Welcome, but next time you won't be so lucky. Who do you think will die in whose hands?" The old man suddenly froze and was speechless. After fighting with Tang Zheng for so long, he had clearly realized the gap between them. If he wanted to kill Tang Zheng, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens. However, if Tang Zheng wanted to get rid of him, it would not take much effort. He was completely unable to accept such an outcome. His head drooped as if he had lost his parents. However, the flames that were about to spurt out of his eyes showed his inner feelings. Su Yingtian did not stop Tang Zheng from killing. The lives of some shrimp soldiers and crab generals were insignificant to him. Moreover, from Tang Zheng's decisive killing, he also had a new understanding of Tang Zheng. He echoed, "Hua Xia is indeed no longer the sick man of East Asia that can be bullied. Since they dare to come, then of course we will make them pay the price in blood." The old man fiercely glared at Su Yingtian, but he remained indifferent as if he did not see it. However, why would these people come to this remote village? Su Yingtian's eyes turned as he suspiciously muttered to himself. Tang Zheng's heart trembled. Could it be that he had found out about the mountain-shattering meteor hammer? Sinosaurus's strength was still weak, so he had to bide his time to prevent others from coveting it. In the future, when his cultivation was high enough, it would not be too late to announce it to the public. Tang Zheng did not bat an eyelid as he calmly said, "Who knows? The Japanese have never needed a specific reason to do things. They only do it on a whim." "Nonsense. Our people came to this village because they found traces of a magic treasure, and not because of a whim," the old man refuted. Tang Zheng's gaze turned cold. Would this old thing die if he spoke less? Fortunately, the advanced troops of the island nation had all died, so the old man did not know about the mountain-shattering meteor hammer. Magic treasure? Su Yingtian's heart moved. "You really came for the magic treasure?" The old man heard this and jokingly said, "It seems that you know even less than us. Haha, then don't think that you can get a word out of me." "Haha, is that so? Then we'll see," Su Yingtian said unconcernedly. "Director Su, we will take our leave first. We will have to trouble you to clean up this mess." Tang Zheng pointed to the courtyard and said, "Don't worry. Isn't that what the National Security Bureau does?" Su Yingtian said casually. Tang Zheng and Wu left the village that night and met up with the Dou clan. They told them that the matter had been resolved, and that they did not need to worry. Although the Dou clan was skeptical, they did not have a better way. Moreover, they did not see the police coming to arrest them, so they gradually believed it. However, when Tang Zheng warned them not to return to the village, they agreed without hesitation. They no longer had any lingering feelings for that village. However, the impact of this matter on the family was not small. After many days, they gradually forgot about this nightmare. Since school had already started, Tang Zheng, Sinosaurus, and Wu took a flight to the capital the next day. Sinosaurus's return made the atmosphere in room 502 lively again. They had a good meal together, and were very happy. Fortunately, Sinosaurus's mental endurance was not bad. He did not show too much abnormality and did not arouse the suspicion of others. At night, Tang Zheng left Wu Wu and quietly sneaked into the underground of the Imperial City. Before the new year, an earthquake occurred in the Imperial City, which affected the nerves of all parties. During that time, the Imperial Palace was loose on the outside and tight on the inside. However, there was no movement and no useful information was found, so all the spies were withdrawn. This made it convenient for Tang Zheng to enter the underground of the Imperial City and meet with the five-clawed golden dragon. During the winter vacation, he had accumulated too many questions to ask the five-clawed golden dragon. When he walked in the direction of the five-clawed golden dragon, the dragon chi in his body surged. Back then, in the Southern Sea Dragon Palace, the dragon chi in his body was emitted. The powerful dragon might cause many sea demons to crawl on the ground, not daring to move at all. That kind of domineering aura made Tang Zheng feel as if he had fallen into a dream. For the first time in his life, he experienced the power of dragon qi. At first, the dragon qi in his body was accumulated after absorbing the 5-clawed golden dragon's qi and consuming the dragon yuan pill. However, when his dragon god art broke through to the second stage, a lifelike 2-clawed golden dragon appeared in his mind, and a golden dragon head was branded on his forehead. It was full of dragon might, and dragon qi gradually formed in his body. Previously, his dragon qi would not increase on its own, but ever since he cultivated to the second level of the dragon god technique, his dragon qi gradually increased. This was something he had never expected. The dragon god technique actually had such a divine power. However, the dragon qi had always been deliberately suppressed by him, so others could not sense it. Otherwise, when ordinary people faced this dragon qi, they would really feel suffocated like Mount Tai. At this moment, the dragon qi was surging. This unprecedented change caused Tang Zheng to involuntarily frown. When he walked to the door, he found that the 5-clawed golden dragon was staring at him with wide eyes. Your dragon god technique has actually been cultivated to the second level. The 5-clawed golden dragon impatiently spoke first. Tang Zheng looked straight in front of the 5-clawed golden dragon, and the dragon qi in his body involuntarily gushed out. In an instant, his aura suddenly changed. Although his body was countless times smaller than the 5-clawed golden dragon, at this moment, his aura was like a rainbow, giving people an illusion. It was as if the gap between him and the 5-clawed golden dragon wasn't that big. That invisible aura made up for the gap between the two of them. Yes, the dragon god technique has reached the second level. A double-clawed golden dragon appeared in my mind, and there is a dragon head imprint in the center of my forehead. Tang Zheng activated his power, and the double-clawed golden dragon in his mind began to churn, as if it was riding the clouds in the sky. His forehead emitted a golden light, and the golden dragon imprint shone brightly. Dragon seal. The 5-clawed golden dragon cried out in alarm. His eyes were wide open like 2 large lanterns. How did you manage to cultivate the dragon seal? Tang Zheng looked suspiciously at the 5-clawed golden dragon's huge reaction. The 5-clawed golden dragon had always been calm, but why did it look like it had seen a ghost at this moment? There must be a demon behind this abnormality. Dragon seal? Is my imprint called dragon seal? Tang Zheng touched his forehead, but he didn't feel the slightest bit of difference. This is the dragon seal, the symbol of our dragon clan. Look at me. The 5-clawed golden dragon said excitedly. Suddenly, a golden light flashed, and a mark appeared in the center of its forehead. A huge dragon head impressively appeared in front of its eyes. It was extremely powerful, many times more powerful than Tang Zheng's dragon seal. This was the first time Tang Zheng saw the 5-clawed golden dragon's dragon seal. He curiously opened his eyes wide. When the dragon seal appeared, the dragon's might multiplied, making people feel like they were bowing down to it. Mighty. Tang Zheng praised from the bottom of his heart. The 5-clawed golden dragon ignored his praise and asked seriously, "Tell me, how did you, a human, manage to cultivate the dragon seal?" Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and asked, "Can't humans cultivate the dragon seal?" "Of course not. This is the unique symbol of the dragon clan. You are not a dragon clan, so how can you cultivate the dragon seal?" The 5-clawed golden dragon said grumpily. Tang Zheng shrugged and said, "You ask me, how would I know? I still want you to give me an answer." "No, there must be a problem somewhere. Even if you are a celestial, I have never heard of a celestial being able to cultivate the dragon seal." The 5-clawed golden dragon shook its head, its big eyes were filled with disbelief. "Tell me, when did your dragon seal appear?" The 5-clawed golden dragon didn't give up and asked, "When?" Tang Zheng scratched his head and suddenly remembered. It was in the desert, a few days before the new year. Why did you suddenly break through at that time? The dragon god arts was a cultivation method that was difficult at first, but then easy. Originally, he was able to cultivate the first layer successfully. The 5-clawed golden dragon didn't expect him to break through to the second layer so quickly. The Tree of Life once again saw the light of day. I absorbed the Tree of Life's spiritual chi. Chapter 592. Seeing such a big reaction from the five-clawed golden dragon, Tangjung looked at it in amazement. The five-clawed golden dragon had always been calm in the face of changes. For a creature that had lived for who knows how many years, there were very few things that could surprise it. Are you sure it's the Tree of Life? The five-clawed golden dragon asked in bewilderment. Tangjung nodded. It's absolutely true. The five-clawed golden dragon took a deep breath and said, no wonder you can cultivate the dragon mark. It's all because of the Tree of Life. When the Tree of Life is born, the aura it emits is the most original energy between heaven and earth. It has the ability to seize the heavens and earth, and is very magical. You can only create a miracle by absorbing this aura and cultivate the dragon mark. Tangjung suddenly realized that he was too lucky. No wonder I feel that the aura between heaven and earth is a lot richer. It turns out that the Tree of Life has reappeared in the world. How did you find the Tree of Life? The five-clawed golden dragon asked curiously. Tangjung did not hide anything and told it about falling into the cave and encountering the Tree of Life. The five-clawed golden dragon was amazed and said, your luck is really too good. The Tree of Life has disappeared for so many years, and it was actually discovered by you. Is this the will of the heavens for the Tree of Life to reappear in the world? Whether it's the will of the heavens or not, I just want to know what's so special about this dragon mark. Tangjung asked. Degrees Celsius is almost equal to the five-clawed golden dragon said seriously. The dragon mark is the symbol of the dragon clan. It is the source of the dragon clan's power, and contains many secrets of the dragon clan. Even I may not be able to clearly explain the magic of the dragon mark. You can't even explain it clearly? Tangjung was stunned. You are from the dragon clan. You can't even figure out the matters of your own clan? The five-clawed golden dragon rolled its eyes. Can you humans figure out all the problems of your own body? Tangjung was speechless. You have the dragon mark. Are you still a human? This is a question. The five-clawed golden dragon said shockingly. Not a human? Tangjung choked, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Back then, Tian Chanzi had also said that he was not a human. Now the five-clawed golden dragon had said the same thing, which made him doubt his own life. Now that you have the dragon mark, you are considered a member of the dragon clan. Tell me, are you still human? F***ck, then what have I become? Tangjung was exasperated. Forget it, I've been a human for more than 20 years, I still prefer to be a human. The dragon clan is incomparably noble. It's your honor to be part of the dragon clan. The five-clawed golden dragon said snappily. Tangjung hurriedly waved his hand and said, let's not dwell on this issue. Since you can't explain clearly about the dragon seal, let's change the topic. You should know about the Langya Pavilion, right? Langya Pavilion. The five-clawed golden dragon looked at him suspiciously. It seems that you have learned a lot from the trip to the South Sea Dragon Palace. Haha, this is all thanks to you. Tell me about the Langya Pavilion. The Langya Pavilion is an important place of the dragon clan. If it were anyone else, I would definitely not tell them. However, you are already a member of the dragon clan, so you are qualified to know these things. The Langya Pavilion contains the cultivation methods collected by the dragon clan, as well as all kinds of rare treasures. It's a treasure trove that many people covet, but these people can only look at it and sigh. They can't even find the Langya Pavilion, let alone open it. Because unless it is a member of the dragon clan, no one can open the Langya Pavilion. The five-clawed golden dragon was full of confidence, and his words were filled with pride from the bottom of his heart. Then can't I also open the Langya Pavilion? Tangjung was secretly delighted. The dragon mark had brought him a lot of benefits. Of course you can. Then where is the Langya Pavilion? The five-clawed golden dragon smiled mysteriously, and the dragon mark on his forehead lit up. Tangjung was confused. What do you mean? I'm stupid. The Langya Pavilion is in the dragon mark and is connected to every member of the dragon clan. So non-members of the dragon clan have no way to find it, let alone open it. The five-clawed golden dragon reprimanded. Tangjung was suddenly enlightened. In the dragon mark. He subconsciously touched his forehead and said happily. Then how can I open the Langya Pavilion? The five-clawed golden dragon did not answer. Instead, he asked, why do you want to go to the Langya Pavilion? To find a cultivation method. Tang Zheng told the truth. The cultivation method you practice is not weak. Are you still looking for other cultivation methods? Don't bite off more than you can chew. This is a famous saying. The five-clawed golden dragon advised. It is not for me, but for others, for the people around me. My cultivation method may not be suitable for them, so I want to find some suitable cultivation methods for them. Tang Zheng explained. The five-clawed golden dragon suddenly understood and said, many people in the world covet the treasures in the Langya Pavilion, but they have never succeeded. Now you are actually giving these treasures to others. Humph. The five-clawed golden dragon was obviously unhappy. After all, the cultivation methods in the Langya Pavilion were collected by the dragon clan. Tang Zheng was not frightened by the five-clawed golden dragon's attitude. He asked, can't I? Of course you can. After all, you are already part of the dragon clan. But the dragon clan also has a rule that high-level cultivation methods cannot be passed to outsiders. In fact, I don't need to worry about this because you have only cultivated to the second level of the dragon god technique. It is impossible for you to obtain a powerful cultivation method. What do you mean? Do you think that any dragon clan member can enter the Langya Pavilion and obtain a high-level cultivation method? You may not think too simply of the Langya Pavilion, and the dragon clan is too stupid. The five-clawed golden dragon jokingly said. Tang Zheng was confused and asked, what do you mean? Let me tell you, there are a total of 18 floors in the Langya Pavilion. Each floor requires a corresponding strength to go up and enjoy the corresponding treasures. Otherwise, no matter how much effort you put in, it will be in vain. There is such a strange rule. Tang Zheng could not help but feel a little depressed. Then which floor can I go to now? The second floor. Tang Zheng's expression darkened as he said disappointedly. It's only the second floor. Isn't that too little? It's already quite a lot. If it wasn't for the fact that you have cultivated to the second level of the dragon god technique, you would only be able to wander around the first floor of the Langya Pavilion. The five-clawed golden dragon said disapprovingly. However, there was still a gap between this and Tang Zheng's expectations. What are the powerful cultivation methods on the first and second floor? Looking at your disdainful look, do you think that the first and second floor are very low-level cultivation methods? The five-clawed golden dragon asked disdainfully. Isn't that so? Of course not. How could the dragon clan collect low-level cultivation methods? That would be an insult to the dragon clan's intelligence. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. It was good that it was not a low-level cultivation method. Otherwise, if the people around him were to cultivate low-level cultivation methods, he might as well not cultivate at all. Of course, this was because Tang Zheng had the confidence to be called a tycoon. Most people would already be satisfied if they had a low-end cultivation method to cultivate. Why would they still be picky? Then how do I get to the Langya Pavilion? Tang Zheng no longer entangled himself with the question of cultivation methods and asked. I will teach you a set of methods. Naturally, you will be able to communicate with the Langya Pavilion. A golden light flashed and shot into Tang Zheng's brain. A set of methods appeared in Tang Zheng's mind. According to the method, Tang Zheng began to circulate his true qi. The dragon mark on his forehead shone brightly and emitted rays of golden light. The double-clawed golden dragon in his mind also began to churn. The dragon qi vibrated and spread in all directions, filling the entire stone room. The air fluctuated and Tang Zheng felt his body lighten. The scene in front of him changed and an antique building appeared. An ancient plaque hung in front of the building. The words Langya Pavilion were written in ancient seal script. Langya Pavilion. Tang Zheng stared at the building and raised his head to look. There were indeed 18 floors, and each floor was richly ornamented. It was simply like a work of art. The door opened. Tang Zheng walked up the stairs and crossed the threshold. Suddenly his eyes widened. 3 rows of bookshelves occupied the entire space. Each bookshelf was filled with ancient books. Looking up, there was a dazzling array of dazzling things. It made one unable to choose. Tang Zheng looked at a wooden plaque next to the bookshelf. There were small tadpole-like words carved on it. It introduced the situation of the first floor. This floor was full of cultivation methods. However, they were not cultivation methods. Instead, they were martial arts techniques. There were many extraordinary martial arts techniques in the world. Tang Zheng was not a martial artist. Therefore, these martial arts techniques were of little value to him. There was no need to spend time on them. He immediately stepped up the stairs and walked to the second floor. The second floor also had 3 rows of bookshelves. They were filled with various cultivation methods. The wooden plaque next to them introduced them as cultivation methods. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up. I finally found you. The cultivation methods were as vast as the sea of smoke. Of course, he could not blindly rush up and look for them. Fortunately, these cultivation methods were organized according to category. He did not have to be at a loss. A cultivation method suitable for women. Tang Zheng's mind immediately came up with this idea. There were many women around him, but there were not many cultivation methods for women. It was a pity. He immediately rushed to a row of bookshelves and browsed from top to bottom. Finally, he stopped at the cultivation method at the top of the bookshelf. There were many cultivation methods at the bottom of this row of bookshelves. Only the top row only had one cultivation method. Could it be that the one at the top is the best? He was not a rookie. He had cultivated the ancient clear heaven scroll and the dragon god technique. He had a certain ability to distinguish cultivation methods. When he took the cultivation method at the top, he roughly glanced at it and immediately made a judgment. This was indeed a powerful cultivation method. Although it was not as good as the dragon god technique and the ancient clear heaven scroll, it was definitely a good cultivation method for ordinary cultivators. Moreover, this cultivation method was easy to learn. From simple to difficult, it could stimulate the enthusiasm and mood of the cultivator. This is it. Tang Zheng did not hesitate to put the cultivation method into his sumaru pouch. When the cultivation method entered the sumaru pouch, a cultivation method immediately appeared at the top of the bookshelf. It was exactly the same as the one he took. How mysterious. After I took it away, an identical book immediately appeared. It's equivalent to me just copying it. This Langya pavilion is truly mysterious and strange. Tang Zheng clicked his tongue in admiration. Following the same pattern, he put the cultivation method at the top of the other 2 rows of bookshelves into his sumaru pouch. They were cultivation methods suitable for men and demon beasts. The dragon race enslaved tens of thousands of demon beasts. Of course, they would collect their cultivation methods. Tang Zheng now had 3 demon beasts under him. They were Xiaobai Gui Qiansui and Thundercloud Beast. He wanted to see if this cultivation method could help them. Achieving his goal, Tang Zheng was overjoyed. His eyes inadvertently swept to the stairs leading to the 3rd floor. His heart moved. What is on the 3rd floor? Chapter 593. Staring at the stairs leading to the 3rd floor, Tang Zheng struggled with his thoughts. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, "The 5-clawed golden dragon said that I can only reach the 2nd floor. Will there be another miracle this time?" He lifted his foot and stepped on the stairs. Boom. As soon as his feet landed on the stairs, a huge repulsive force hit his body from the stairs. His face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly activated his genuine qi to resist the force. He held on for a minute, but his other foot could not reach the 2nd step. With a loud bang, he flew backward. The scene in front of him changed. The Langya pavilion disappeared, and he returned to the underground of the imperial city. His face was pale, and his legs could not stop trembling. Miracles did not always happen. This time, the 5-clawed golden dragon was right. He could not set foot on the 3rd floor with his cultivation. I don't believe it. I want to try again. He was not willing to give up and quickly activated his technique again. After a while, he was shocked and could not help but exclaim, "Hey, why is there no reaction? Why can't I reach the Langya pavilion?" Do you think you can go to the Langya pavilion as you please? The 5-clawed golden dragon's voice rang in his ears. Tang Zheng was stunned and looked at it suspiciously. He asked, "What do you mean?" The five-clawed golden dragon rolled its eyes and said, "The Langya Pavilion is an important place of the Dragon Clan. Members of the Dragon Clan only have one chance to enter the Langya Pavilion every month, and each time there is a time limit. You only have a quarter of an hour." Tang Zheng suddenly understood, but he was immediately suspicious. "I didn't have a quarter of an hour just now." The five-clawed golden dragon laughed evilly. "Of course not. I'm afraid you didn't listen to my judgment, and tried to set foot on the third floor, right? How do you know?" "Haha, of course I know. You're really overestimating yourself. The Langya Pavilion was discovered by the ancestors of the Dragon Clan, and was built into the Langya Pavilion. The rules were set by the ancestors. Do you think you can break the rules of the Langya Pavilion? You were repulsed by the Langya Pavilion, and were forced to leave, so you can't enter this month." The five-clawed golden dragon laughed gloatingly. "So that's how it is. Could it be that no one is an exception to this rule?" Tang Zheng asked, unwilling to give up. "Of course not. No one can violate the rules of the Dragon Clan's ancestors," the five-clawed golden dragon said with certainty. Tang Zheng sighed inwardly. Since that was the case, he should not be restless in the future. Otherwise, it would not be worth it if he was kicked out of the Langya Pavilion after so much difficulty. However, he silently made up his mind. "I will never give up on cultivating the Dragon God technique in the future, because the Dragon God technique is related to the Langya Pavilion. I don't know what other treasures are upstairs. I must go upstairs." Seeing that Tang Zheng was deflated, the five-clawed golden dragon brazenly rejoiced for a while, and then said in a deep voice, "Since you have become a member of the Dragon Clan, then you will be able to cultivate the Dragon God's secret art much faster than before. The Dragon God's secret art is an exquisite cultivation method of the Dragon Clan. It will help you reach the spirit severing stage as soon as possible, and help me leave this place." Looking at his desperate mood, Tang Zheng couldn't help but say, "I'm only at the 7th grade of fasting. I'm still thousands of miles away from the deification stage." That's not necessarily true. You have created miracles time and time again. I think the time for me to break out of this cage is not far away." The five-clawed golden dragon was full of confidence. "How was your trip to the Southern Sea Dragon Palace?" The harvest was not small. However, the surroundings of the Southern Sea Dragon Palace were not as desolate as you said. It was quite lively with many sea demons gathered. Even the Dragon Palace was occupied, and became the lair of the sea demons. They dare to occupy the Dragon Palace. What a big bastard. If I see these sea demons, I will definitely tear them into pieces." The five-clawed golden dragon showed his might, and said with a murderous aura. Although the Dragon Palace was abandoned by the Dragon Clan, with the pride of the Dragon Clan, they would not allow other sea demons to occupy their lair. "Those sea demons have no chance to occupy the Dragon Palace because I have already destroyed it," Tang Zheng said. "Destroyed?" The five-clawed golden dragon's huge eyes widened as he stared at Tang Zheng. His dragon's aura erupted and enveloped Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was not afraid and said casually, "I took away the black stone of heaven and earth and the Dragon Palace collapsed." The five-clawed golden dragon's aura collapsed and he sighed faintly. "Yes, the black stone of heaven and earth is the cornerstone of the Dragon Palace. Without the black stone of heaven and earth, the Dragon Palace will naturally cease to exist." Obviously, when he told Tang Zheng about the Southern Sea Dragon Palace, he already knew that the Dragon Palace would cease to exist. "It's just that the Dragon Palace left me a lot of memories. I will never see the Southern Sea Dragon Palace again." The five-clawed golden dragon was disappointed. Tang Zheng looked at him suspiciously. Did the sun rise from the west? He could not believe that he would show such emotions. Seeing that he was depressed, Tang Zheng did not continue to dwell on this issue and asked, "How much do you know about the Ghost Realm?" "Ghost Realm?" The five-clawed golden dragon suddenly paused and looked at Tang Zheng suspiciously. "Why are you asking about the Ghost Realm?" "I have a little conflict with the Ghost Realm," Tang Zheng said frankly. "How did you provoke the Ghost Realm?" "It's a long story." "I'm all ears." The five-clawed golden dragon was very interested. Tang Zheng hesitated for a moment, and told him about the Ghost Realm. The five-clawed golden dragon suddenly realized. No wonder you would ask me about the ghost realm. It turns out that you have provoked such a big trouble. Is it a big trouble? Tang Zheng was skeptical. Of course it's a big trouble. The life-continuing pill that you refined broke the balance of the ghost realm. This is a change of fate. How can the ghost realm watch you do whatever you want? It's not that serious. Only a few people have their lives prolonged. It's just a drop in the ocean. Tang Zheng was in disbelief. The five-clawed golden dragon retorted. A drop in the ocean? You think too simply. What do you mean by a single spark can start a prairie fire? As long as you start the first, there will naturally be a second person. At that time, the ghost realm will be in chaos. The foundation of the ghost realm will be destroyed by you. How can they not be nervous? That's why I said that you have caused a big trouble. Tang Zheng scratched his head and was skeptical. Was it really that serious? Did the life-continuing pill have such a big effect? Moreover, when Tian Chanzi taught him how to refine the life-continuing pill, he didn't say that it would have such a big effect. Tang Zheng had always thought that the life-continuing pill was an ordinary pill in the immortal cultivation world. But now it seems that his judgment was wrong. Is the life-continuing pill very ordinary in the immortal cultivation world? Tang Zheng couldn't help but ask. Ordinary? The five-clawed golden dragon stared at him like he was looking at a fool. Do you really not know, or are you pretending not to know? Of course I really don't know. The life-continuing pill is one of the top 10 divine pills in the immortal cultivation world. Many people have only heard of its name, but have never seen its true appearance. One of the top 10 divine pills? Tang Zheng was in disbelief. He always thought that the life-continuing pill was a common product that could be mass-produced. How could it be so magical from the five-clawed golden dragon's mouth? Moreover, Tian Chanzi had never revealed this point. Of course, lifespan is very important to a cultivator. With the life-continuing pill, a person can extend their lifespan and cultivate to a higher level. This is something that every cultivator yearns for even in their dreams. But the life-continuing pill is too rare, and I heard that the refining process is very complicated. Even for an alchemy grandmaster, it is not an easy task. Moreover, the recipe for the life-continuing pill is a secret. Where would an ordinary person have the opportunity to know? F***ck. Tang Zheng felt that his brain wasn't enough. This was completely different from what he thought. Tian Chanzi had never revealed anything to him. Since the life-continuing pill was so magical, then how did Tian Chanzi know the recipe? Moreover, Tang Zheng had refined the life-continuing pill more than once, so it wasn't as complicated as what the five-clawed golden dragon said. Originally, when he was at the peak of the ordinary balance mountain, he succeeded in refining 3 life-continuing pills in one try. One must know that at that time, he was only at the 3rd grade body refining realm, so his control of qi and fire was not very high. If he could refine the life-continuing pill with this kind of cultivation, then was the life-continuing pill really as magical as what the five-clawed golden dragon said? In addition, how did Tian Chanzi know the recipe for the life-continuing pill? Didn't he always say that he was just an ordinary cultivator? His brain was a mess, and his eyes were filled with confusion. The five-clawed golden dragon looked at him with interest and said, Since the life-continuing pill was passed down to you by Tian Chanzi, I'm afraid he isn't as simple as he seems on the surface. Hey, you were tricked by him. Nonsense. Tang Zheng suddenly raised his head and shouted. He had been with Tian Chanzi for a long time, and his grandfather's life was also bestowed by Tian Chanzi, which was why he was able to increase his lifespan by 10 years. Unknowingly, he had already treated Tian Chanzi as a relative. When he heard that Tian Chanzi had tricked him, his reaction was so extreme. Towards his anger, the five-clawed golden dragon turned a blind eye to it and said, My words are not lies. If you don't believe me, you can ask him yourself. Ask him? Tang Zheng hesitated. He understood Tian Chanzi's character. This old man was as stubborn as an ox. If he was unwilling to say something, no matter what, Tang Zheng would not be able to pry open his mouth. But if he didn't ask him, what else could he do? Tang Zheng was caught in a dilemma. It's really interesting. At that time, I didn't see too many clues. This old man hides deeply. The next time I see him, I'll have to ask him carefully, the five-clawed golden dragon said with a smile. Tang Zheng's face was uncertain. Suddenly he took a deep breath and said, I believe in him. Even if he didn't tell me the truth, he must have his own reasons. I believe that one day he will tell me the truth. If Tian Chanzi heard this, he would definitely be comforted. But the five-clawed golden dragon disdainfully said, You are really stupid. Who knows how long it will take for him to tell you the truth? Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and fiercely glared at the other party. He said snappily, I'm willing. Humph, since you are willing, then I don't need to be the bad guy. But you must remember not to delay your cultivation. The five-clawed golden dragon warned. Let's not talk about the life-prolonging pill. Why don't you talk about the ghost realm? Tang Zheng asked, changing the topic. Do you know how many realms there are in this world? The five-clawed golden dragon threw out a strange question. How many realms? Tang Zheng was confused. How would I know? Chapter 594. 3,000 large worlds, 9,000 small worlds. Tang Zheng was truly shocked by this number. It turned out that there were so many worlds, and he was just a drop in the ocean. Even the world he was in was insignificant. The five-clawed golden dragon was very satisfied with Tang Zheng's reaction and said, Now you know how powerful it is? What is a large world and what is a small world? Tang Zheng pondered for a moment and asked. The five-clawed golden dragon pointed at his feet and said, A large world and a small world are divided according to power. This world used to be a large world, but now it has been downgraded to a small world. Why would this world be downgraded? Tang Zheng was slightly surprised. Because its power has weakened, it will naturally be downgraded. Strength weakened? Tang Zheng instantly thought of the expulsion of the cultivators. Without the cultivators in this world, the power of humans had indeed weakened a lot. It seems that you have already guessed it. You guessed right. The five-clawed golden dragon seemed to have seen through his thoughts. Then, when the cultivators return, will this world be upgraded to a large world? Of course. Who exactly made these rules? The five-clawed golden dragon pointed to the sky. The heavenly Tao. All of these rules are evolved from the heavenly Tao and cannot be interfered with by humans. Tang Zheng felt as if a bell had struck. This series of information had really subverted his worldview. What are the advantages of a large world over a small world? The five-clawed golden dragon smiled mysteriously. Of course there are advantages. A small world will disappear and be annihilated in the vast universe, but a large world's luck is excellent. It has the advantage of time and place, and will not be annihilated. Annihilation. Tang Zheng's body tensed up. Then what about the inhabitants of this world? Of course they will be annihilated along with the small world, completely disappearing from the vast universe. The five-clawed golden dragon's tone was calm, but the message it conveyed made Tang Zheng feel as if he had fallen into an ice cave. You mean that one day, this world will be annihilated and disappear? Unless it is upgraded to a large world? Tang Zheng asked dumbfounded. Smart. The five-clawed golden dragon praised. However, Tang Zheng was not happy at all. This disappearance was too shocking. He had never thought that this world would disappear. Although scientists had always said that every world would die, it was inferred that this world still had a lifespan of tens of millions of years. There was no need for humans to worry about it. However, after hearing this, Tang Zheng was not so optimistic. The operation of the heavenly axiom was clearly not something that could be explained by technology. In the beginning, this world was originally a small world, so in ancient times, this world experienced a catastrophe and disappeared. Humans call that period the Jurassic period. Jurassic period dinosaurs. Tang Zheng's eyes widened. Even a 3-year-old child would have heard of these two words. According to research, it was the impact of a meteorite that caused the extinction of species and the complete disappearance of that world. After countless years of evolution, humans finally appeared in this world. You're saying that the Jurassic era belonged to a small world, and the heavenly axiom operated, so the Jurassic era was annihilated and disappeared? Tang Zheng asked. You guessed right. The so-called meteorite impact is just a method of the heavenly axiom. The heavenly axiom has countless ways to make this small world disappear. The five-clawed golden dragon really did not rest until he was shocked to death. These heavy bombs exploded one after another, causing Tang Zheng's heart to jump out of his throat. Since this world is now a small world, when will it be annihilated? This was the question that Tang Zheng was most concerned about. The five-clawed golden dragon shook his head. How can the heavenly axiom be so easy to predict? So you don't know? Yes. The five-clawed golden dragon nodded. He paused for a moment and said, but it can be annihilated at any time. Tang Zheng's heart tightened, and he felt like he couldn't breathe. It turned out that the residents of this world had been living in the shadow of death, but they didn't know it. He felt as small as an ant, and his fate was in the hands of the illusory heavenly axiom. F***ck, too unreliable. He cursed in his heart, his expression uncertain. Then how can I get rid of this imprisonment? Tang Zheng said unwillingly. I don't want my fate to be in the hands of others. Hee, your heart is quite big. Do you want to fight against the heavenly axiom? I advise you to give up on this idea. The heavenly axiom is the world's biggest law. You can't go against it. The five-clawed golden dragon asserted. Don't tell me I'm just going to wait for death. Tang Zheng said hatefully. Of course you don't have to wait for death. You are a cultivator. When your cultivation reaches a certain level, you can break through the shackles of this world. Before this world is annihilated, you can leave this world and live. What about the others? The others? You can't even take care of yourself. How can you have the leisure to care about others? The five-clawed golden dragon said jokingly. Tang Zheng obviously had to care about others. There were many people in this world that he cared about. How could he ignore those people and let them perish with this world? He was not a cold-blooded animal, so of course he couldn't do this. Then is there any other way to prevent this world from being annihilated? Of course there is. Let it become a large world again, and occupy the right time and place. The heavenly axiom will naturally not let it be annihilated. Tang Zheng was stunned for a moment, then asked, then how can it become a large world? Raise the power of this world. Since the tree of life has appeared, the spirit energy between heaven and earth will become denser in a very short period of time. This is tailor-made for cultivators, and you are also collecting heaven and earth Xian stones to reforge the heaven stairway, and let the cultivators return. Of course, you can increase the strength of this world and advance to a large world again. Let the cultivators return. Tang Zheng hesitated. He had been struggling with this problem. The cultivators were expelled and their hearts were filled with resentment. If they returned, he could not predict what kind of revenge the humans in this world would suffer. Therefore, he did not have the right to make this decision for the lives of others. I don't know much about the sky beyond heaven, but I'm sure that the sky beyond heaven is one of the many worlds. In fact, many worlds are connected and can travel between each other. For example, the people in the ghost realm can travel to this world, and back then, the cultivators were also expelled to the sky beyond heaven by New Era. However, back then, New Era definitely did not think that he would demote this world, and instead let this world walk on the path of no return. Tang Zheng's expression was unsettled. Listening to the news one by one, it was difficult for him to digest it all. Could it be that it was really as the five-clawed golden dragon said? That he only had one way to let the cultivators return? Wasn't this the same as Tian Chanzi's wish all along? For a moment, he was upset and his brows were tightly knitted. The five-clawed golden dragon ignored his troubles and said to himself, didn't you want to ask about the ghost realm? Then you're good. The ghost realm is two worlds that are interdependent with this world. This situation is called the mother and child realm. If one of these two worlds is strong, then the other will definitely be weak. Because, although the two worlds are dependent on each other, they are actually secretly absorbing each other's luck and power. Of course, when the cultivators gather, the power of this world is greater than that of the ghost realm, so the ghost realm has always been suppressed. Although I was imprisoned here, and am not very clear about the specific situation of the ghost realm over the years, I can be sure of one thing. The development of the ghost realm in these years must have far surpassed that of this world. and the power of the ghost realm has already surpassed that of this world. At this time, you destroyed the foundation of the ghost realm. How could the ghost realm let you go? I'm afraid they will dig you out even if they have to dig 3 feet into the ground. The 5-clawed golden dragon couldn't help but reveal a hint of schadenfreude in his tone, causing Tang Zheng to roll his eyes helplessly. Hey, who are you with? Why do I see that you are very happy to see the ghost realm become stronger? Hee, what are you talking about? In fact, these messy things have nothing to do with me. I'm just a spectator. The 5-clawed golden dragon said indifferently. But I want to remind you that the ghost realm is now a big world, and the world you are in is a small world. When the heavenly Tao sends down punishment, this world will disappear, but the ghost realm will be safe and sound. On the contrary, the ghost realm will absorb the luck and all the favorable factors of this world, thus enhancing their strength. Tang Zheng was secretly shocked, silently snorted, and simply ignored the other party. He also temporarily put the matter of the small world and other things to the back of his mind. His top priority now was to figure out how to deal with the ghost realm. Since he had imperceptibly ruined the good things of the ghost realm, then the ghost realm would not let it go, and would try their best to find out the situation. After listening to Tang Zheng's request, the 5-clawed golden dragon smiled and said, "You want me to teach you how to deal with the ghost realm?" Yes. Tang Zheng was not polite. If I die early, then you won't be able to see the light of day again. We are grasshoppers on the same rope. That's right. Then why are you so sure that I have a way to deal with the ghost realm? Tang Zheng was slightly startled. He was desperate before, and was not sure that the 5-clawed golden dragon had a way to deal with it. But at this moment, after hearing its words, Tang Zheng immediately concluded that it had a way to deal with it. He was desperate and had actually hit the jackpot. If you have a way, then say it. Don't talk nonsense. Seeing that it was pretending to be profound, Tang Zheng angrily urged. The 5-clawed golden dragon sighed helplessly and said, "You are begging me, yet you still have this kind of attitude. If it was before, I would never tell you, but this time I can make an exception for you." Tang Zheng curled his lips. What exception? Wasn't it worried that Tang Zheng would have an accident? Then it would have no hope of escaping? You listen to me. Kill the people who took the life-prolonging pill and eliminate the hidden dangers of the ghost realm. Naturally, success will come naturally. Kill them. Tang Zheng was incredulous. Was there a mistake? Why would he want to kill those innocent people? Moreover, wasn't his grandfather Tang Dahai one of them? How could he do it? It was ridiculous. He glared fiercely at the 5-clawed golden dragon and said in a deep voice, "Can you stop joking? I won't kill those people." The 5-clawed golden dragon shook its head and sighed. "You are too soft-hearted. Anyway, they are people who are about to die. If you kill them, naturally no one will suspect you." No. If I say no, it means no. Chapter 595. After a long time, the 5-clawed golden dragon slowly opened his eyes and said, "If it was in the past, I wouldn't talk so much nonsense with you. This won't do, that won't do." Tang Zheng was not afraid at all and looked at him proudly. This was a matter of principle. How could he agree so easily? "I really don't know what to do with you, but after thinking hard, I finally found another way." "Don't keep me in suspense, what is it?" Tang Zheng couldn't force him. He urged impatiently, although he used a concealment technique on his grandfather and Nana, so that the ghost realm couldn't track the two for the time being. But that was not a long-term solution. He destroyed the foundation of the ghost realm, and caused them to lose their soldiers. The ghost realm would definitely try their best to find the culprit. At that time, when Tang Zheng was found, the ghost realm would not just send a few ghost generals or ghost marshals to deal with him, but would definitely send more powerful experts. Tang Zheng might not be able to cope with it. Therefore, he had to plan ahead and completely remove himself from this matter. Let the ghost realm be in chaos, so that they have no time to care about the East, then you will naturally be safe. The 5-clawed golden dragon said lightly. Let the ghost realm be in chaos? Tang Zheng's eyes widened. Do I have such great ability? You don't. Indeed, you didn't, and this method was impossible to succeed in the past. But now, There is a glimmer of hope, and this glimmer of hope is related to you. I really feel that this is the will of the heavens. Could it be that all of this is the arrangement of the heavens? Heaven's will? Don't talk nonsense. Tell me quickly what the method is. The tree of life. This method depends on the tree of life. The tree of life is the most original energy of this world. Not only can it transform the spiritual energy and the environment, but it can also absorb the energy of other worlds to supplement this world. Tang Zheng seemed to understand. You mean the tree of life can absorb the energy of the ghost realm and transfer it to this world? Of course, not every world has the tree of life, so the tree of life is very important to a world and must not be damaged. Otherwise, the world's luck will be greatly reduced, and even suffer a disaster. The five-clawed golden dragon said solemnly. Tang Zheng nodded. After absorbing the energy of the world of spirits and souls, will the world of spirits and souls be able to trace the source? Of course not. The miraculous nature of the tree of life is not something that can be traced by humans. Only then did Tang Zheng feel relieved. If the tree of life had absorbed the energy of the ghost realm, it would have caused a commotion in the ghost realm, causing them to have no time to investigate Tang Zheng. This diversion was indeed effective. Then how can the tree of life absorb the energy of the ghost realm? The five-clawed golden dragon smiled mysteriously and explained. Tang Zheng engraved it in his heart, but to use this technique, he had to get close to the tree of life, which meant that he had to go to the desert again. Tang Zheng silently made up his mind to find a time to meet the tree of life as soon as possible. Hee, I'm looking forward to the day when you turn the ghost realm upside down. The five-clawed golden dragon smirked. The next day, he immersed himself in his school life. Even though he was given preferential treatment, he still had to put on an act. He couldn't skip classes so soon after school started. After a day of classes, Tang Zheng returned to his dorm with his roommates. Now that he had Wu, who was like a shadow, he actually liked to stay on campus. Otherwise, she would follow him closely. However, he did not stay idle for too long. Yi Dingdong's roommate, Li Fengfei, called. Li Fengfei and Zhou Yan had officially developed into a couple, and Zhou Yan was unable to resist her pursuit. Li Fengfei asked Tang Zheng if he knew what happened to Yi Dingdong's family. Today, during class, Yi Dingdang was called away by her family. It seemed that her expression was very serious, as if something bad had happened to her family. Something bad? Tang Zheng was startled. The Ye family was one of the few great families. What kind of accident could happen? Moreover, the Chu family's patriarch had fallen, and the other three families had eaten up a portion of the Chu family's business, especially the Song family. Now that the three families were in a stalemate, although the Ye family was still a little weak, with Yi Xuanji as the pillar, the other families did not dare to rashly do anything to the Ye family. Therefore, what could happen to the Ye family? Hearing that Tang Zheng didn't understand, Li Fengfei advised, Tang Zheng, Dingdang cares a lot about you. Now that something big has happened to her family, she must be at her weakest. You should show some concern. Although at first, Li Fengfei didn't think highly of Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang, and even felt indignant towards Yi Dingdang chasing after Tang Zheng. However, time and time again, reality proved that Tang Zheng was not as simple as he seemed on the surface. In private, Zhou Yan had even said that in the entire 502 dorm, Lao San was the most unfathomable person. His mysteriousness and strength might far surpass the imagination of ordinary people. Li Fengfei already knew that Zhou Yan came from an official's family, and that his father's position was not small. He had been influenced since he was young, and had trained a pair of eyes and ears. Although he didn't usually show it, his heart was like a mirror, and he was very good at judging people. Since he did this, Li Fengfei stopped looking down on Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was secretly ashamed. During this period of time, he had neglected Yi Dingdang. He had originally planned to meet her when school started, but because of Sinosaurus's matter, it was delayed. Tang Zheng, there's something I have to say. Dingdang has always been a proud girl, but she put down her dignity for you and treated you wholeheartedly, treating you as the center of her world. But from what I can see, your feelings for her have always been erratic, and many of your actions don't seem like what a boyfriend would do to his girlfriend. As a girl, I think that Ding Dang is really pitiful. Li Fangfei took a deep breath and said, pitiful? Tang Zheng suddenly froze, stunned by these two words. Was my behavior really that bad? He couldn't help but recall the bits and pieces of Yi Dingdang, and suddenly, he realized that Li Fangfei had hit the nail on the head. He was very concerned about Yi Dingdang, and didn't even ask her to watch a movie or go to the library to read. In short, they didn't do anything that a normal couple should do. Even he, Fang Shishir and Lu Qingmei didn't do anything that a couple should do. In addition, during the process of the two of them getting along, it was mostly Yi Dingdang who took the initiative, and even tirelessly chased after him. He had always been used to it, but now that he thought about it, he realized how difficult it was for a girl to do this. I understand, thank you, Tang Zheng said solemnly. If you know you have to take action. Do you understand? Li Fangfei warned. Understood. Tang Zheng's reply was firm and decisive. Since he had to take action, he naturally had to carry it out immediately. Without hesitation, he left the school and went straight to the Ye family. Although he knew that he wasn't welcomed in the Ye family, Yi Dingdang had done so much for him. What was the big deal if he went to the Ye family and suffered a little? Yi Dingdang had always insisted on being together with him despite the opposition of the majority of the Yi clan. Thus, him coming to the Yi clan without any hesitation was a response and support to her actions. She would definitely be happy. When Tang Zheng arrived at the entrance of the Ye family, he felt an unusual atmosphere. Stop right there. A person stopped him. Her almond-shaped eyes were wide open as she glared at him, like an angry lioness. Tang Zheng stopped in his tracks, looked at her calmly and said, Yi Meiyu, move aside, I want to see Dingdang. Yi Meiyu looked at him with a complicated expression. She had once thought of seducing Tang Zheng, but Tang Zheng did not take the bait. Instead, he got together with Yi Dingdang. This made her deeply suspicious of her own charm. Could it be that she couldn't compare to Yi Dingdang, that young girl? What did she know? Did she know men? Why didn't this Tang Zheng look straight at her, but instead looked at that young girl in a different light? She felt a deep sense of defeat. As a result, she naturally did not have the slightest good impression of Tang Zheng. Just now, when the servant saw Tang Zheng walking over from afar, he immediately turned around to inform her, and she coincidentally bumped into him. That was why she rushed over in a hurry to see what Tang Zheng was going to do. This is the Ye family, you can't see whoever you want, and it's not up to you to decide. Yi Meiyu said without any trace of politeness. Tang Zheng slightly frowned and said, What exactly happened to the Ye family? No, nothing, Yi Meiyu said hesitantly. Seeing that, Tang Zheng's heart trembled. Something must have happened to the Ye family, otherwise, the usually arrogant and despotic Yi Meiyu would not have such a reaction. I don't care about the Ye family, I only care about Dingdang. Although this is the Ye family, it's still her home. You can't make the decision for her. With that, Tang Zheng walked towards the door with large strides. Yi Meiyu wanted to stop her, but it was no different from a mantis trying to stop a chariot. After being lightly bumped into by Tang Zheng, she staggered backwards and almost fell down. After making a fool of herself in front of the servants, she flew into a rage and shouted arrogantly, Stop him! Don't let him step into the Ye family. The servants all surrounded them. Many of them were martial warriors nurtured by the Ye family. If they were placed outside, their strength would be extraordinary, but in front of Tang Zheng, they were like babies, unable to pose the slightest threat. However, this way, it would be a big battle. With swords drawn, the servants clamored and were about to charge forward. Suddenly, a loud shout exploded like a clap of thunder. Who dares to barge into the Ye family? Everyone's eardrums vibrated, and many of the servants covered their ears, revealing a pained expression. However, Tang Zheng's expression did not change, and when he looked up, a somewhat familiar face entered his sight. This familiarity was not because he knew Tang Zheng, but because his facial features gave Tang Zheng a sense of familiarity. This was because Tang Zheng could tell at a glance that he was Yi Xuanji's other son, the eldest of the Ye family, Yi Tianming. Yi Tianming was more like Yi Tianlei than Yi Tianlei, especially the expression between his eyebrows, which was exactly the same. Yi Tianming walked over with a majestic gait, and the servants all stepped aside to make way for him. Yi Tianming stared at Tang Zheng with an unfriendly expression and scolded. "Who are you?" Tang Zheng was not afraid at all. Although he had never seen Yi Tianming before, he did not believe that Yi Tianming would not recognize him. He had caused such a huge commotion in the capital, and he had a close relationship with Yi Tianlei. He did not believe that Yi Tianming had not investigated him. Since the other party asked the obvious, Tang Zheng did not have the mood to talk, and said indifferently, "I came to find Ding Dang. I don't want to cause trouble, but I don't mind causing trouble." Chapter 596. Tang Zheng's tough attitude made Yi Tianming frown. Although there were many rumors about Tang Zheng, Yi Tianming did not really take Tang Zheng seriously. Moreover, this was the Ye family. Yi Tianming took a step forward and said in a low voice, "If you don't know what's good for you, then don't blame me for being rude." Yi Tianming was about to make a move. Tang Zheng was ready to fight. A conflict was about to break out. "Handsome." Feng Xinyang's voice rang out. She walked over quickly and asked, "Why are you here?" Tang Zheng turned his head and said, "I'm here to look for Ding Dang." "Feng Xinyang, the Ye family is not a place where anyone can barge in," Yi Tianming said with a straight face. Feng Xinyang frowned coldly. She had been dissatisfied with Yi Tianming for a long time. She was disgusted by his words and retorted coldly, "He is my guest." "Humph, the Ye family does not welcome him." Yi Tianming frowned even more when he saw Feng Xinyang contradicting him. Feng Xinyang did not say anything. She grabbed Tang Zheng and walked inside. "Feng Xinyang, what are you doing? Do you think this family is not messy enough?" Yi Tianming shouted angrily. Feng Xinyang did not even turn her head and said, "Can't I even receive my own guest? I think you think this family is not messy enough and are deliberately stirring up trouble." Feng Xinyang had a fiery temper and was outspoken. Since she came to the Ye family in the capital, she had been restraining her temper. At this moment, she could not help but explode. In front of so many servants, Yi Tianming's dignity was seriously challenged. He could not help but clench his fist and said, "Feng Xinyang, you forced me to do this." Since returning from abroad, Yi Tianming also found that many people in the family had a huge change in attitude towards Yi Tianlei. Yi Tianming was very wary of this sudden competitor for the position of the clan head. This time, Feng Xinyang had contradicted him in front of everyone, and everyone had seen it. If he didn't do anything, then the prestige he had built up over the years would be greatly reduced. In addition, some of the opportunists would gradually side with Yi Tianlei, which was something he absolutely did not want to see. Therefore, this time he wanted to establish his authority and establish his prestige in the Ye family. Especially after such a big incident happened in the Ye family, he wanted to establish his unshakable position and let everyone know that in the Ye family, other than Yi Xuanji, Yi Tianming was the one who made the decisions. Yi Tianming's mind was full of thoughts, but Feng Xinyang did not know. But to be honest, she did not care about what he thought. She was certain that whoever embarrassed Tang Zheng in front of her was disgracing her, Feng Xinyang. She would never sit back and do nothing. Feng Xinyang stopped and turned to face Yi Tianming. She said, "What do you want? I'll accompany you to the end." Yi Tianming's eyes were filled with anger. This was a public provocation. If he did not suppress this, it would be more difficult for him in the future. "Then don't blame me for being impolite." His feet slipped, and he suddenly appeared in front of Feng Xinyang. After Feng Xinyang came to the capital, she had a breakthrough and reached the second grade of the innate realm. But compared with Yi Tianming, she was still inferior. Yi Tianming did not show mercy this time. He was determined to teach Feng Xinyang a lesson as an example to others, establishing his authority. Just as Feng Xinyang was about to retaliate, another vigorous figure was faster than her and stood in front of her to protect her. He lightly said, "Aunt Feng, let me deal with this kind of person. There is no need for you to make your presence known." He pushed out a palm with one hand. It was plain and simple, but the palm force was restrained. Bang! When the two palms came into contact, Tang Zheng did not move an inch. Yi Tianming retreated 3 steps. His heel tapped on the ground and only stopped when he stepped on the stone floor. But the stone floor under his feet was like a spider web, cracking inch by inch. Yi Tianming was shocked and his cheeks flushed red. He took a deep breath and suppressed the inner strength in his heart. Stop fighting. Yi Tianlei rushed out and shouted in shock. Tang Zheng remained calm and greeted Yi Tianlei. Uncle Yi, I'm looking for Ding Dang. Yi Tianlei's face was complicated. He nodded and said, this is all a misunderstanding. Everyone stop. Little Zheng, why are you looking for Ding Dang? I heard that she was called back while she was still in class. I was worried that something happened to her, so I came to take a look. Hearing these words, Feng Xinyang was overjoyed. She thought to herself that this girl's luck with men was finally here. Since this little handsome boy actually took the initiative to come and see her, then sooner or later she would take him down. Truly worthy of being my, Feng Xinyang's seed. Yi Tianlei did not have such thoughts. He said in a deep voice, Father suddenly fainted. We are looking for doctors everywhere. With Yi Xuanji's cultivation and strength, this kind of situation would not happen for no reason. So when Tang Zheng heard this, he was shocked. Yi Tianming regained his senses and caught the flaw in Yi Tianlei's words. He sternly scolded. Tianlei, how can you tell an outsider about this? The news of Yi Xuanji's coma was strictly controlled within the Ye family. No one dared to spread it because this news would cause a commotion and negatively affect the Ye family. Xiao Zheng is not an outsider. Yi Tianlei argued, but he could not tell Yi Tianming that his father escaped death and broke through to the supreme power realm, because he took Tang Zheng's life-prolonging pill. Therefore, it was not a disgraceful act to tell Tang Zheng about Yi Xuanji's situation. On the contrary, Yi Tianlei thought that he should tell him. Although Yi Tianming was shocked by Tang Zheng's strength, Yi Tianlei's appearance helped him out. Otherwise, he would not know what to do. In addition, his perception of Tang Zheng had undergone a complete change. He had underestimated him too much in the past. Suddenly, his hostility to Tang Zheng became stronger. Yi Tianlei had such a big help. Of course, he could not ignore it. Yi Tianming suppressed his anger and asked his subordinate next to him, has the person sent to invite the King of Medicine back? He just came back, but the King of Medicine is not in the capital. It is said that he went on a long journey. The subordinate reported nervously. A long journey? Yi Tianming's face stiffened. Yi Tianlei looked at Tang Zheng and said, Big brother, the King of Medicine and Xiao Zheng have a close relationship. Since the King of Medicine is not here, why not let Xiao Zheng try? The relationship between Tang Zheng and the King of Medicine was too complicated. When the King of Medicine appeared at the auction, he publicly admitted that Tang Zheng was his master. This made many people surprised. Many people were skeptical, but there was no doubt that Tang Zheng and the King of Medicine had a close relationship. What ability does a young boy have? Continue to send people to find the King of Medicine. We must bring him to the capital as soon as possible. Yi Tianming said disapprovingly. Time waits for no one. I think that we should let Xiao Zheng try. Yi Tianlei retorted. If I say he can't, then he can't. If he can't cure father, who will be responsible? Yi Tianming said unhappily. He was determined to control the situation. I believe in him. Yi Tianlei said stubbornly. Tang Zheng had created too many miracles, so he subconsciously thought that Tang Zheng might be able to create another miracle. Yi Tianming heard this and still did not give in. Tang Zheng frowned. He did not understand the situation. These two brothers were arguing so fiercely. Was it necessary? Just as he was about to interject, he felt a cold and gloomy feeling descend from the sky. He subconsciously looked up. The sky was completely dark. The haze in the capital was not small. It was impossible to see the night sky. But Tang Zheng saw many different things. The dark sky was emitting a strange force, enveloping the Ye family's mansion. Inchi. Tang Zheng instantly recognized this strange force. It was too familiar. But the key point was, how could the Ye family be enveloped by such a strong yin qi? This did not make sense at all. In the past, Tang Zheng had been to the Ye family. The Ye family's yang qi was very strong. It was a place with good feng shui. It was one with the fate of the capital. It was impossible for such a strong yin qi to appear. There must be something wrong with this abnormal situation. Seeing him look up at the sky as if he was scared silly, the others turned their gaze and looked at him suspiciously. "Little handsome, what's wrong?" Feng Xinyang patted his shoulder and asked with concern. "What happened to Yi Xuanji?" Tang Zheng asked in a deep voice. He did not care about Yi Xuanji's life or death. But with such a strong yin qi appearing in the Ye family, he had to pay attention. Hearing him call Yi Xuanji's name, Yi Tianming was furious. "Tianlei, what did you hear from him? He is so rebellious." Yi Tianlei coughed awkwardly and advised, "Big brother, little Zheng must have found something. Let's listen to him first." "What's there to listen to? What can he possibly say? This person came to the Ye family to make trouble. If father was here, he would definitely drive him out of the Ye family. He would never listen to his nonsense," Yi Tianming said righteously. The meaning of his words was quite deep. He was accusing Yi Tianlei of going against the wishes of the old man. This was disrespectful and unfilial. Many people nodded, apparently agreeing with Yi Tianming's words. Yi Tianlei fell into a passive state, but he still stubbornly said, "Little Zheng is more powerful than you think." Moreover, the medicine king revered little Zheng as his master, so his medical skills are definitely out of the ordinary. Father's illness cannot be delayed. If little Zheng has a way, then wouldn't everyone be happy? After saying that, he directly invited Tang Zheng to the Ye family's backyard. Yi Tianming's expression kept changing. He said in a deep voice, "Then I want to see how long he can play tricks." Yi Tianming did not believe that Tang Zheng could save Yi Xuanji. After all the famous doctors in the capital had diagnosed Yi Xuanji. They all said that Yi Xuanji's condition was rare, and they could not diagnose the cause. Yi Tianming did not believe that Tang Zheng was more powerful than those divine doctors at such a young age. Since Yi Tianlei was so stubborn, then he would make a fool of himself. Later on, he would hit him when he was down and fiercely attack his arrogance and prestige. Along the way, Tang Zheng frowned. Especially when he stepped into the small courtyard where Yi Xuanji lived. He felt a chill. A cold feeling instantly enveloped his body and mind. Chapter 597. What's wrong? Yi Tianlei asked anxiously when he saw Tang Zheng stop and frown. There's something strange about this courtyard. What's strange? The yin qi is too strong. Yin qi? Hearing this, everyone looked around, but they could not see anything. Moreover, they had been in this environment for too long, so they were not sensitive to yin qi. Don't talk nonsense. Where did the yin qi come from? Yi Meiyu retorted indignantly. Yi Tianlei knew that he would not deliberately mystify things, so he quickly asked, "What's going on?" "The yin qi here is too strong, it's like a haunted house." Among the people present, Tang Zheng was the most sensitive to yin qi, especially when he had been to the ghost realm. The yin qi here was only slightly weaker than the ghost realm. This was extremely abnormal. Hearing the words haunted house, many people felt a chill run down their spines. A chill ran from the soles of their feet to the top of their heads. Yi Tianming, however, could not bear to listen any longer and flew into a rage. "Nonsense! This is the Ye family's old house. It is a place with good feng shui. How can it be a haunted house? Tianlei, if you continue to let him spout nonsense here, it will be a great disrespect to the ancestors of the Ye family. If father finds out, he will not let you off easily." Yi Tianlei's face changed slightly. Tang Zheng spoke first. "Don't talk big to scare people. Whether I'm telling the truth or not, isn't Yi Xuanji's condition the best evidence?" Everyone was startled. Yi Xuanji was a martial artist in the Grandmaster realm. It was difficult for ordinary diseases to affect him, let alone being unconscious like this time. Tang Zheng's words were like a bell, causing everyone to wake up from a dream. A voice rose in everyone's heart. Could it be that Tang Zheng's words were true? Yi Tianlei had already believed a little. Ignoring his brother's objection, he insisted, "I believe in Tang Zheng's words. If there's any problem, I will take responsibility." Creak. His voice fell, and the door opened. Yi Ku and Yi Dingdang walked out together. Seeing Tang Zheng, Yi Dingdang rushed over happily, her cheeks flushed, and excitedly said, "Why are you here?" Her eyes were filled with little stars of happiness. Tang Zheng ignored everyone's burning eyes and took the initiative to hold her hand. He smiled and said, "I came to find you." "Looking for me?" Yi Dingdang's eyes sparkled. Originally, she was still brooding over the fact that Tang Zheng did not even have the chance to meet her before running away. But after hearing these words, all of her unhappiness disappeared like smoke into thin air. If not for the fact that there were so many people watching, she would have thrown herself into Tang Zheng's arms. Tang Zheng's action was sweeter than honey, and her happiness was off the charts. Seeing this, many people were indignant. No matter what, Yi Dingdang was also a member of the Ye family. Tang Zheng had the blessing of 8 lifetimes to be favored by her. Tang Zheng's heart was also warm. He nodded and said, "Of course, I am looking for you. I heard that you were called away in class today, so I am worried about you." Yi Dingdang shook her head happily. "I am fine." "It's good that you are fine. You should leave this yard first," Tang Zheng advised. "Leave the yard, why?" Yi Dingdang looked at him blankly. "The yin qi in this yard is too heavy. It is not good for your health. Yi Dingdang has a pure yin body. It belongs to the yin qi. If she is in a place with strong yin qi for a long time, the yin qi will easily invade her body and cause harm." However, this remark provoked public anger. Tonight, Tang Zheng's words and deeds provoked the nerves of the Ye family again and again. Yi Tianming's temples jumped. Yi Ke saw her father's state and couldn't help but frown. However, seeing that her father didn't attack, he also remained silent for the time being. Yi Dingdang originally wanted to stay with Tang Zheng, but seeing his serious look, she nodded cleverly. "Okay, I will listen to you." If it was before, she might argue a few words, but today, Tang Zheng moved her too much, so she seemed to have become a well-behaved sheep. Looking at Yi Dingdang's reaction, many people were surprised. She used to act quite sharply in the Ye family. When was she so gentle? When Yi Dingdang left the yard, Yi Tianming impatiently scolded, deliberately mystifying, "I will wait and see how you end up. Tianlei, you wait for father to wake up and see how he punishes you." Yi Tianlei was unmoved and immediately invited Tang Zheng into the room. Yi Xuanji was lying on the bed, his eyes closed, and his breath drifted. Where was the momentum of the head of the family? As strange. Tang Zheng muttered to himself, and his frown deepened. Taking a closer look, his face was covered with a layer of black qi. "How is it?" Yi Tianlei quickly asked. Yi Meiyu curled her lips and said in a strange tone, "What else can I do? I'm still helpless." Tang Zheng turned a deaf ear and directly grabbed Yi Xuanji's wrist. Yi Tianming's expression changed greatly and he said, "What are you doing?" One must know that Tang Zheng was not an ordinary doctor. He was also an expert. Facing Yi Xuanji, who was powerless to resist, if he secretly used any means, then Yi Xuanji would be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. If there were any problems, it would harm him for life. How could Tang Zheng not guess the other party's thoughts, but he was too lazy to care. He did not have to save Yi Xuanji, but all of this was related to yin qi, which was why he was so interested. Yi Tianlei was not as good-tempered as Tang Zheng. He had run out of patience with Yi Tianming and roared, "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Why would Tang Zheng harm father? If he really had such thoughts, father would have died long ago." These words were really shocking, especially Yi Tianlei's attitude. In the past, he would try his best to be calm when facing Yi Tianming. Even if he was angry, he would hide it in his heart. Yi Tianlei was also stunned. He did not expect this, but he was instantly furious. How many days had it been since Yi Tianlei returned to the Ye family? And he dared to yell at him in front of everyone. What was this? Where was his face and dignity? However, he muttered in his heart about the meaning of Yi Tianlei's words. Could it be that Yi Tianlei was stupid? How could father's life be related to this kid? It sounded like it was because of him that father could live for so long. It was simply the biggest joke in the world. But before his anger exploded, Yi Tianlei's voice sounded again. Yi Tianlei ignored his brother's anger and glanced at Tang Zheng. Seeing that he was calm and did not have a strong reaction, He made up his mind and said, when father was cultivating, there was a big problem with his body. He did not have much time left. It was Tang Zheng's life-prolonging pill that created a miracle. Not only did it save father's life, but it also gave father the opportunity to break through his cultivation and reach the master realm. At that time, Tang Zheng and the relevant people had agreed not to expose the fact that Tang Zheng saved Yi Xuanji. But times had changed. At that time, he was worried about exposing his identity as a cultivator. But now his identity as a cultivator was no longer a secret in the eyes of many people, so there was no need to continue to keep it a secret. It was precisely because of this point that Tang Zheng did not stop Yi Tianlei from revealing the news. Suddenly, everyone was shocked by the news. Except for Yi Dingdong's family of 3, the rest of the Ye family were kept in the dark. They did not know this important news at all. But many of them were smart people. They immediately thought of Yi Xuanji's attitude towards Tang Zheng when he first came to Beijing. He did not hesitate to break with the Song family and acquiesce to the matter between Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang. This was an extremely unusual move because no one found out what virtue or ability Tang Zheng had to deserve this honor. But now that they thought about it, everything could be explained. It turned out that Tang Zheng was Yi Xuanji's savior. Even the Ye family owed a great debt of gratitude. If he did not save Yi Xuanji, the Ye family would have fallen to the Chu family's current situation. Suddenly, everyone looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression. It turned out that they were able to maintain their status and wealth today. It was all thanks to Tang Zheng. Yi Tianming and his daughter were speechless. They did not think that Yi Tianlei would dare to lie about this kind of thing. Then all of this was true. Tang Zheng turned a blind eye to these complicated expressions. Instead, he caught the words life-prolonging pill from Yi Tianlei's words. He woke up from a dream. According to the 5-clawed golden dragon, the ghost realm would definitely thoroughly investigate the life-prolonging pill. However, Tang Zheng used the art of deception to hide Tang Dahai and Nana. Yi Xuanji, who was the third to increase his lifespan, would be the first target. Moreover, if it were not for the ghost realm's intervention, the Ye family's mansion would not have so much yin qi gathered and turned into a haunted house. It turns out that everything that happened to Yi Xuanji is related to me. Tang Zheng said. Originally, it was unknown whether he would save Yi Xuanji or not. However, since he understood that all of this was caused by him, he could not stay out of it. This was equivalent to the life-prolonging pill being a product that he sold. All of this was a problem after sales. As a qualified businessman, Tang Zheng was still very professional. Moreover, Yi Xuanji was the pillar of the Ye family. Yi Dingdang was a member of the Ye family. If this pillar fell, she would definitely be affected. Whether it was for public or private reasons, Tang Zheng could not sit back and do nothing. Tang Zheng did not care that everyone was still in shock, unable to extricate themselves. He waved his hand and shouted, "If you want him to live, then get out." All was silent. Everyone stared at him with their mouths agape, not knowing how to react. Yi Tianlei was the first to react. He was the one who understood Tang Zheng the most. He knew that he had many secrets that he did not want to be found out. Therefore he quickly said, "Everyone get out. Tang Zheng wants to save him." Yi Tianming hesitated for a moment and looked at Tang Zheng with mixed feelings. Then he turned around and walked out silently. Tang Zheng snorted coldly. There was no doubt that Yi Tianming's actions were unwise. Especially after Yi Xuanji woke up and knew about these things, he would definitely have opinions about him. As the successor of the family head, he seemed to be helpless in the face of this crisis. Moreover, he was too selfish and did not have the domineering and imposing manner of a family head. On the other hand, Yi Tianlei acted neatly and dared to take responsibility for his actions. He had the demeanor of a great family head. Many smart people instantly understood this point. They looked at the two brothers with complicated eyes and left the room one after another. "Uncle Yi, Aunt Feng, you two stay." Tang Zheng shouted. "If there are any accidents later, you can help." As soon as these words came out, Yi Tianming's status was even lower. If Yi Xuanji woke up, he would understand that his survival was thanks to Yi Tianlei. Chapter 598. The room quieted down. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang asked expectantly, "What can we do to help?" Tang Zheng smiled and said, "Just watch, there might be some unusual phenomenon later. Don't make a fuss. Also, don't let outsiders come in and disturb me." Yi Tianlei patted his chest with a pa-pa sound, and said resolutely, "Tang Zheng, don't worry with me here, no one will be able to cross this threshold." Tang Zheng circulated his true qi and took out the War Soul Sword. With a buzzing sound, a black light burst out. Seeing this, the couple's eyes lit up as they stared at the War Soul Sword. The aura emitted by the War Soul Sword was much stronger than before. It was like a divine weapon, especially the mysterious aura it emitted, which made people fascinated. "Absorb!" Tang Zheng shouted, and a whirlpool suddenly appeared on the War Soul Sword. A cold wind blew, and the yin qi in the large room was immediately sucked into the War Soul Sword. The War Soul Sword contained a war soul, and it especially liked yin qi, so when it absorbed the yin qi, the War Soul Sword let out a cheerful sword cry, and the sword intent surged, filling the surroundings. Yi Tianlei and his wife's minds trembled. Facing this sword intent, they actually felt a sense of fear deep in their hearts. The two of them looked at each other, and saw the deep shock in each other's eyes. "Rise!" Along with a low shout, the War Soul Sword floated in the air and crazily rotated, as if it was creating a dragon tornado. The surrounding yin qi surged even more crazily and rushed into the War Soul Sword. The layer of black qi on Yi Xuanji's face swam, and slowly separated from his skin. Suddenly, Yi Xuanji crazily twisted, his face revealing a painful expression. "What's wrong?" Yi Tianlei was shocked. "Don't make a sound, little handsome brother will take care of it." Feng Xinyang quickly held her husband's hand and comforted him. Yi Tianlei's palm was covered in a thin layer of cold sweat. The nervousness in his heart could be imagined. Tang Zheng's face sank. He also felt something strange. His goal was to extract the yin qi from Yi Xuanji's body. However, he didn't expect the yin qi to be so stubborn. It was as if it had fused with his body. The yin qi hovered above Yi Xuanji's body and gradually formed a ferocious ghost face. It opened its mouth and roared, "Who are you? How dare you stop me?" Seeing this scene, Yi Tianlei and his wife were stunned. They stared blankly at this face, not knowing what to do. However, Tang Zheng asked in a deep voice, "What did you do to Yi Xuanji?" "Why would I need to tell you what the ghost realm does?" Ghost Face Mask said arrogantly, "World of spirits and souls." Tang Zheng's face sank. All of this was indeed caused by the ghost realm, but Yi Tianlei and his wife were ignorant. Obviously, this was the first time they had heard of these two words. "Why does the ghost realm want to harm my father?" Yi Tianlei suppressed his fear and angrily asked. Ghost Face Mask turned around and stared straight at Yi Tianlei. Ghost Face Mask's eyes were empty, but it seemed to have a soul-sucking power that made people's hearts sway. Ghost Face Mask said in disdain, "Humph, a little human. So what if I harmed him? Now that a part of his soul has been captured by the ghost realm, his secrets will be exposed and the truth will be revealed." Hearing this, Tang Zheng's face changed. He didn't guess wrong. The other party really did come for the life-continuing pill. Moreover, the ghost realm learned to be smart. They directly captured a part of Yi Xuanji's soul back to the ghost realm. No wonder he fell into a coma for no reason. Although Yi Xuanji is a master-level martial artist, facing the mysterious power of the ghost realm, he is still weak. However, Yi Xuanji has an extra 10 years of lifespan. Even if the ghost realm captured his soul, they can't directly kill him. No, I definitely can't let Yi Xuanji tell the ghost realm the truth. Otherwise, all my previous efforts will be in vain. The plan of creating a diversion will also go down the drain. Tang Zheng's gaze gradually became firm. He coldly asked, "Where did you bring him to?" Ghost Face Mask didn't take any precautions and truthfully said, "Fengdu City." Tang Zheng silently remembered this name and said, "Then how can I reach Fengdu City?" Ghost Face Mask was startled. He obviously heard the implied meaning. He disdainfully laughed and said, "You still want to barge into Fengdu City? Haha, welcome. We don't mind having another vengeful spirit like you. Hey, it looks like you're not a martial artist, but a cultivator." Cultivators are almost extinct in this world, but there's still a fish that slipped through the net like you. But you're too weak and weak. What can you do? Tang Zheng wasn't surprised by the other party's gaze. With a wave of his hand, War Soul fell into his hand. He pointed it at Ghost Face Mask and said, "Is that so? But I think it's more than enough to deal with you." Swish. The sword light shone brightly. War Soul pulled out a dark sword light and fiercely slashed at Ghost Face Mask. Puff. The sword light passed through the middle of Ghost Face Mask. With an ear-piercing scream, Ghost Face Mask was split into two. It became more and more ferocious, but it slowly faded and finally turned into a wisp of Yin Qi. Keep. War Soul Sword's attractive force sucked all the Yin Qi into the sword. "Ah, Tang Zheng, what did you do to Ghost Face Mask?" Yi Tianlei exclaimed in shock. Ghost Face Mask is not the main body. It's just a consciousness left behind. It's not important. Tang Zheng explained. A consciousness? The couple was stunned. They had never heard of such a situation. It was an eye-opener. Then what do we do next? Will the old man wake up? Yi Tianlei paused for a moment and asked anxiously. Tang Zheng glanced at Yi Xuanji, who had his eyes closed, and shook his head solemnly. Not for the time being. His soul has been taken away. Ah, then isn't the old man hopeless? Yi Tianlei's face sank. It's too early to say that. Let me dissolve the Yin Qi in this house first. After a moment, the Yin Qi in the Ye family's house was completely absorbed by War Soul Sword. Tang Zheng said, "I have a way. It's worth a try." "What way?" "I'll go to the ghost realm and bring his soul back. After his soul is returned, he should be fine." Tang Zheng made up his mind. Since he wanted to keep this a secret, he couldn't leave Yi Xuanji in the ghost realm. "You're going to the ghost realm?" The couple was really shocked by this news. With their knowledge, they really didn't know how to go to the ghost realm. The ghost realm was a completely foreign existence to them. "How do we go?" "I have a way. I can't guarantee how long I'll be gone. During this time, you have to take care of Yi Xuanji. Don't let his body suffer any damage. Otherwise, even if we find his soul, it'll be useless." Tang Zheng exhorted. "Little handsome, this is too dangerous. I can't let you take this risk. Moreover, this is the Ye family's matter. It's not your matter. You don't have to take such a big risk and price." Feng Xinyang was worried about Tang Zheng's safety and quickly advised. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. All of this happened because of him. Moreover, there were too many reasons why he had to go, but these reasons couldn't be told to outsiders. "Don't worry. Although the ghost realm is full of danger, if I'm careful, it shouldn't be a big problem." Tang Zheng comforted. But in fact, deep in his heart, he didn't have absolute confidence. He couldn't tell them the truth. Otherwise, they wouldn't let him go. The couple looked at each other. Yi Tianlei was incoherent with gratitude. "Tang Zheng, thank you. You've done too much for the Ye family. The Ye family owes you too much. If anyone in the Ye family dares to gossip about you in the future, I, Yi Tianlei, will be the first to disagree." Tang Zheng smiled faintly and said, "Wait for me to come back. But don't tell anyone about what happened just now and where I'm going." He took out a ghost token and activated it with his true qi. A ghost gate immediately appeared in front of the three of them. Traces of Yin Qi immediately spread out. The couple turned into statues again. "I'm going." Tang Zheng stepped through the ghost gate and disappeared. The ghost gate immediately disappeared without a trace, leaving the couple looking at each other speechlessly for a long time. Bang bang bang. There was a knock on the door. Yi Tianming's urging voice sounded. "It's been so long. How's the situation? Hurry up and open the door, or we'll break in." Just now Yi Tianming's heart was in a mess. He felt uneasy and his heart was extremely complicated. If Tang Zheng cured Yi Tianlei, then Yi Tianlei would definitely take the credit. Yi Tianlei's position in Yi Xuanji's heart would definitely rise. This would directly affect the ownership of the family head in the future. Yi Tianming couldn't turn a blind eye to all this. Creak. The door opened. Yi Tianlei frowned and walked out. He said unhappily, "Why are you shouting?" Yi Tianming said angrily, "How's the old master?" "He hasn't woken up yet." Yi Tianming heard this and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. But in an instant he had an absurd thought. Please don't let Tang Zheng cure the old master. Yi Tianming looked into the house. There was no sign of Tang Zheng. He was shocked. Where's Tang Zheng? Yi Tianlei remembered Tang Zheng's advice and said, You only need to know one thing. He's trying his best to save the old master. Yi Tianming's expression was strange. He scolded. Ridiculous. He's gone. How is he going to save the old master? I think he knows that he can't do anything, so he ran away. Nonsense. Yi Tianlei retorted with a red face. If not, where is he? You can't tell me that he's gone missing and is saving the old master, right? Yi Tianming said jokingly. The others also looked at Yi Tianlei and his wife in disbelief. They were obviously moved by Yi Tianming's words. Why are you talking so much nonsense with them? When the time is right, we'll know. Facing Yi Tianming's aggressiveness, Feng Xinyang finally couldn't hold it in and said angrily. Yi Tianlei nodded and said, What you said makes sense. I announce that from now on, no one is allowed to enter this house. We must do our best to ensure the old master's safety. What do you mean? Do you think that one of us will harm the old master? Yi Tianming said angrily. This clearly showed that he didn't trust them. However, at this critical moment, Yi Tianlei couldn't care less about offending people. He stood at the door with a golden sword and a golden sword. One man could hold back 10,000 men. No matter what you think, for the old master's safety, no one is allowed to enter this door unless they step over my dead body. Yi Tianlei's imposing manner was completely different from his previous image. It was deeply imprinted in everyone's mind. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.